Hey, you're lagging. What are you doing?
Good enough can cost you the game, so stop settling. Wifinity is built for real life on base, so you can game without compromise. Posted somewhere new? Take your Wi-Fi with you, no hassle. Get fast, reliable Wi-Fi with Wifinity. Use code BFBS50 to get 50% off the first 3 months.
I can't see anything. Well, welcome back to the BFBS Pro League. You join us here in the playoffs of Well, main event number 3, Danny. We're getting awfully close to the online portion of this season being done and over with. And, well, we've just finished what has been quite a dark patch, I think, for myself and you.
I don't know if necessarily dark would be the right words or not, but what certainly will be a bright spot will be how this or top 6 eventually plays out here, as you pointed out over on the social medias. That was posted, lots to play for in terms of qualification overall here.
Absolutely. And of course, at the moment, the point standings looking incredibly close. Let's not forget there is a grand finals of which all of these teams are trying to play into on the 27th of September. And it's only 7 points separating 4th place in the RAF Storm Shadows currently from joint 8th at the moment in the Mustangs and the Kestrels, Danny. So it is remarkably close competition. And this is a really decisive game if you're sort of hunting to be within that top 8.
Well, it's sort of quite awkward. I mean, before we even touch on to that point as well, I mean, last season as well, before the RAF Storm Shadows at the time went on to be sort of the number 1 side, was still battling around in that 4th spot until the very last qualifier back in season 1. So the fact that we're in a similar situation, those are the sort of similar storylines, and now you have the likes of the former player from the Shadows in the Mustangs and the likes of Jeromus for that top 8 spot. You might need a new scriptwriter here, Psycho, because it's a little bit familiar here.
It is, and there's familiar faces across the board, but also we've spoken at length in the last couple of weeks of all the new talent on the block. But regardless, I think we should have a quick look at the brackets.
Well, I think they're not necessarily the seed's going to be the issue, but more necessarily the matchup again facing the Sea Dragons themselves, which is going to be the unfortunate bit about it, because if you're going to try to get into that top 2 conversation, you've got to beat one of them, and again, it's at the 3rd time and the 3rd sort of situation they find themselves in.
Krakens lately. The last time they fought very close games, 3-2, and I believe just 1-0 the last time those two teams met. Now, Mustangs have had a few shifts of their own, and I believe the Krakens bringing in a substitute for today, Danny. So this could be a very entertaining matchup.
Well, certainly, I mean, we sat here before even the end of the last of the Swiss stage, and I sent you big long paragraphs of the ifs, buts, maybes, and what matchups need to happen in terms of our potential top 8 qualification. And this is one of the lineups that I sat there was alluding to. It needed to happen for just an outright sort of chance up. And the fact is, I would sit here and say, and I believe you would probably be in agreement of it, the Krakens is the stronger of the 2 lineups. But if they are having some form of a substitute coming in, how much of a weakened side is that going to be versus the RAF Mustangs?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very tough one to call at the moment, as I believe it's Mateo who's stepping in. I've been told Mateo, Horizons, and, well, I think Poggy and Stimplebog out of action for today. And so it is going to be a very, very close affair. And I think even just looking forwards in the bracket as well, the Krakens going forward to that lower round of 6, of course, you're going to have one of those losers drop down. And I still find that the Krakens have so much potential within them to compete amongst the very, very top. And we've seen it since week one. And we sort of built that narrative last week of the Krakens maybe having that slice of the pie within the playoffs. And it just narrowly didn't go their way. Otherwise, they could have seen their way to a semi-finals, Danny.
Well, certainly so. I mean, you can also make the argument just a Swiss stage last time around about what 3 goals of a difference here that would have been a top 4 roster, which just goes and shows how close they are. It's just that sort of unfortunate side that's not able to produce the big moments that you need to have in a competition. But ultimately, if you are in this sort of top 6 consistently, what they seem to be doing, land qualification is the end goal, and if they can get that, then hence job achieved here.
Yep, definitely so. And it'll be a remarkable achievement for the Royal Navy if they can squeak the Krakens through that top 8 and qualify for that playoffs position in the grand finals itself, Danny, at the end of September. But I think next week is really when we're going to get to see all the argy-bargies and the rivalries and the tension starting to flood in, because it is just so close.
It's horrible because, I mean, we could sit here and say, within the sort of the conversation, what from, let's say, the 5th spot in terms of the rankings, even say outside to the 10th spot, any of them could, squeak themselves way through. And I wouldn't be cruel here, second, to throw you the question of, who's going to be the side that misses out here. But it's going to be the question is, who's going to be the one that sort of steps up? Because, we've seen it, far too often here, teams under pressure not performing to their best here. And we've seen very much some scrappy matches. I mean, we could just even allude to the fact of the RAF Mustangs versus the RAF Nighthawks. That one there wasn't a quality match, but it will go down as a classic for the fact is it was nip and tuck between both of them.
Definitely. And I also think their rivals outright in the season have been the British Army Kestrels, of which they're level pegging with at the moment, 16 points apiece. And the Nighthawks have got a tiny little gap of comfort between them at the moment. Nighthawks on 19 overall, so an extra 3 on top, which does afford them, say, if they were to qualify in the lower round of 6 within playoffs next week, as opposed to, say, Mustangs, lower round of 8, that would be enough to make sure that they're comfortable, especially against such close rivals. So they're going to need a higher advantage than that, potentially. They're going to need some drama to unfold in the Swiss stage, I think, if everything does go to plan. But, of course, we've got a day's playoffs in front of us, Danny, and that could spell any sort of upsets.
And far too often, I mean, we've seen in the professional scene that happen far too easily. I mean, the likes of NRG has been beaten by TSM. A world champion team lineup getting picked apart by APAC over in Asia, which you would never have sat here and seen it over in, let's say, 10 years of professional Rocket League. So, if it can happen there, it can happen here at BFBS. But, there is one point I wanted to maybe draw your attention to as well, that, you do have the likes of the RAF Shadows and the Royal Navy Tridents. I mean, still sitting outside currently. You can pick any of those 2 rosters right now and say that, one decent run in a top 6 here, they could knock out the likes of the Kestrels here.
Definitely, and you can even throw in the Harriers into that mix as well, who have been consistently performing across recent weeks. And you had the pleasure of watching a show match of them versus, I believe it was the Mustangs, just yesterday, didn't you?
Certainly did, but I'm going to be a tad bit on the critical side here. I don't think their chances will stand up as well, based on the fact that the quality of the RAF Mustangs was, able to sort of sit there and make it a 4-0 sweep. The only issue and the asterisk of it is that the first 2 games it was a very much a close affair here. So it's one of those ones. So was the Mustangs slow to get off the block here, or was the Harriers playing up to that level? And it's always difficult because you're sitting there saying yes, they're close to qualifying, but they need 3 big results here for that to happen in one sort of qualifying weekend, essentially. So to me, I would sit there and be a tad bit doubtful on maybe the RAF Harriers this time around for this season here.
I think that's absolutely fair to say, and I do believe the games are on the horizon. However, Horizons ran off to look at the sun. I do believe the Royal Navy team en route after we've just witnessed cosmic history, I think it's fair to say, or at least we tried to. My garden's full of trees today, Danny, so there wasn't much in the way of use for this beautiful contraption I have over here.
Well, why don't you talk more about it?
So it's a big space rock. I don't know if are you familiar with the moon at all?
No, somebody stole it the last time I looked.
Who nabbed it?
Gru, I think it was.
Gru stole the moon. Wow, I didn't realise he succeeded in his plans. Fair play to the guy. But yes, no, of course, the solar eclipse. If you're watching this broadcast well in advance, you're probably thinking, what on earth are these two lunatics on about? So I think that context is worthwhile. But nonetheless, Danny, just waiting as the sun is blind, apparently. What does that mean, Danny? I've just read your little remark.
Oh, it's just, one of the Mustangs is, biggest stickler to the rules. So sort of going, come on, the match is meant to start here. The old sort of Alex Ferguson touching the watch of the referee to signify the timer has started, hasn't it? So hence, it's a case of, everybody knows a slight bit of delay, obviously, due to the eclipse itself. I wasn't going for the obvious pun due to the music title within the game itself, but, some players, want to get the games going, preparation. If you're going to sit there and say it's a 7 o'clock kickoff, you will do things in a certain way. I think the RAF Mustangs is, trying to, how to do it, but want the game to start a tad bit quicker here because they want to just get the nerves probably out of their system and play it out.
Yeah, definitely so. And I think looking in front of us, Danny, these teams were sort of working up the narrative as to what they could go to achieve in terms of qualifying for that BFBS Pro League Grand Finals. But there is also other competitions on the horizon as well. Of course, you've got the inter-services qualifiers, which are very, very soon to be played out as well. And there's all sorts of new talents which could get thrown into the mixer there. As I'm not going to leak anything too much so that I don't have any RAF 1ICs breathing down my neck. Love you to pieces, Stelios, but I do believe plenty of fresh talent there and also across the whole tri-service. So shaping up very nicely at the moment.
Well, certainly the case of it, and it would be interesting to see off the situation. But you can sit there and talk about breathing the opportunities, but how about the opportunity itself for maybe a top 4 spot if they can get the set of results underway here?
Absolutely. And we do have the Royal Navy back in time for this first matchup. Alex Ferguson, you might as well put down the stopwatch because this Royal Navy roster good to go. And look at that. At the very last minute, look who snuck into that lobby, Danny.
Well, it was a technical substitution because I think Fergie would have been proud of that one. The Royal Navy has got its legendary player back onto the pitch, but will it be that type of performance? We'll find out in this best of 5.
Oh, I tell you what, they kept that one nice and hidden from me, didn't they? As it's going to be early pressure, the direction of the hopefuls in the Krakens, who they are cemented within the top 8 on points right now, but are looking for so much more.
I get to see what the tiebreakers and the rules are going to be if the potential 3-4-way tie after all this here. But you want to remove any doubts, you have to get the wins here. And so far, the Mustangs have kept a clean sheet there. They could have been beckoning a goal here. Funny enough, that show match that you alluded to with the Harriers, the one key element that the RAF Mustangs have been slowly implementing into the gameplay has been the passing play, has been the trying to find each other a lot more consistently. They've slowly got that to their game, but it's not to the same level of likes of the RAF Typhoons. If they can fade it 5-10% more accurate here, they may just go on for a run here.
And it's interesting because on the League of Legends broadcast that we're running, commentators are often yapping on about winning conditions and team identity. And in this beautiful game we have, it's difficult to know what makes teams click sometimes, but I think the Mustangs are a lot more obvious in terms of their approach. They like to have the Romus downfield and aggressive and position ready to follow up on those attacking opportunities. And then you've got the likes of Stephen Andrews and Dave who prefer to sit back a little bit deeper and be a threat from further back the pitch. Could
we just maybe be better analysts? Maybe that's the reason.
Well, I know people were showering you with compliments for that tagging
Were
game
they?
earlier as Stimplebog blocks out on that touch. And I was having a laugh with you there, Danny.
I think the last time I got a compliment, it was the sun was still shining. And I think that was around about 2010.
I thought you were going to say 20 minutes ago, just before the eclipse. Oh, I was going to say you'd be telling porcupines.
It's cloudy over here. We haven't had a chance to see it. Either that, those sunglasses blocked everything out.
Maybe a chance of meatballs, knowing your references so far in this broadcast. As Stephen Andrews is going to pick his poison and change the pace a little bit with a shock goal, dare I say, the direction of Mustangs here.
Well, we may have seen a few bargies, but I mean, the last time there was a solar eclipse was recommended when it was a heat wave right across here. You were recommended to buy an old-fashioned slate, similar to the ones that you put on your roof or the blackboards, for the simple fact you can cook an egg due to just the radiation temperature alone. Here's your little fun fact of the history books here as Dave looks to put a second one into the ledger.
Yeah, look at that. It's now a cushion, the direction of the Mustangs, and it's come from a very aggressive passenger play from the Krakens. Maybe just took 2 eyes off of the play there.
They took 2 eyes off the play. There's a third and fourth eye here.
Tell you what, there's one on the left, one on the right. I was thinking, what's going on here? But Tyler's got a very quick response with a punchy little kick-off goal.
Someone of a strong element of the RAF Typhoons and the British Army has been slowly adding that into their arsenal of tricks. I see the Royal Navy likewise to join in the atmosphere of at the third time. Perhaps at the game outright, 2-2, just as easy as it gets.
Oh, I love a close cheek kick-off when it works. And I'm sure the Krakens do as well, because the Mustangs, I'm sure, would have been celebrating, especially with characters like DeRomus. You know, they're bound to get loud. I think a little bit quiet after those two. Oh my goodness, make it 3! Stimplebog. I think he's just gone for a plain old standard kickoff. I'm not sure what's happened here for the Mustangs.
I'll tell you straight off, he just missed.
You know, I'm starting to worry when these players said they looked at the sun for a little too long. 3 kickoff goals now. It's agony. This Mustang side. Stimplebog trying to look for a couple bumps at the back. It's going to really open up a chance for a potential 4th. Boy, has this game switched on its head.
Certainly has. And suddenly comfortability now into a stench of desperation here for the Mustangs. I mean, just even the way they've been approaching it off it a lot more wider. Looks like it's been on purpose since the concessions here, and Stephen Andrews not able to do much in there. At least doing one thing well here is shifting the ball as much as they can, trying to essentially get the Krakens to, match them in terms of space and play through the gaps. And the problem with it is that they're not finding the second ball quick enough to actually deliver that sort of punch and blow back at them.
That's been strong positioning at the back for the Krakens at the moment, who are very happy to absorb that semblance of pressure as Stephen Andrews is going to try and poach a 50 above that second defender. Rises for the 50 out to the corner. It's going to be Dave up first, and he's baited out that defender well, but nothing to come from it there.
Not this time. And it could, and it shall. How about a junk of this caliber?
Well, he's bogged down the opposition here, hasn't he? Stephen Andrews and DeRomus called to action. And neither of them can get a solid touch past that enormous 50 from the late arriver.
I wonder how good is he at swimming.
I'll tell you, with a name like that, it's got to be superb.
I can't wait for the BFBS Sports Day.
As long as I'm commentating, I'm happy there.
Oh no, well, it's either you doing the 100-meter dash or the egg and spoon race.
Look, under any given circumstances, I'd probably say, yeah, that's a good idea, but this is a military community after all. I don't think I'd stand a chance with any of it.
Well, I might chance my arm if it's a long distance running, but unfortunately chances have been limiting. What certainly is catching the sprint here was Stimplebog joining this pitch as quickly as he did here. 4-2 to the batter, and Joe Watts here. You've got to say here, they didn't do anything special other than master the kickoff.
It's all you need to do, isn't it? And I don't think teams necessarily are going to be critical over how they get themselves across the line unless they've got a real winning mentality to them. Because sometimes winning isn't enough, and you want that extra mile, you want that comfortability, and you can be upset even in the face of a result like this. But for Krakens right here, right now, I think they're going to be smiling.
Sorry, winning isn't enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, time and time again, do we see teams try and push themselves across the finish line and do it unconvincingly and in a manner that isn't repeatable. And if there's one thing we have learned from the Krakens, it's that even in the face of dire circumstances, they can reel it back in. They can make those quality moments that just make you think this is not just a top 8 contender through and through. This is potentially a team to push forwards towards that top 4 sort of region, as Stimplebog is going to be off to a literal flying start.
And Dave using the flank here, Horizon, moving that one straight down here, and arguably 2 of the longest serving Royal Navy players who had the ball, who had possession. But again, the same story like last time around. Dave grabs the goal for the opening. How much important is it going to be now to hold it?
It's a simple and a smart touch from Stephen Andrews as well, who gets that, dare I say, unfortunate bounce in the face of the opposition. It just made it awkward, made them stretch to try and find that touch. And you mentioned the width about this Mustang side just a little bit earlier, and I like the way they play to the gaps, they play to the space, and they keep things a little more indirect.
I think Jeromus might want your colander.
Why is that, Danny?
Because that was a very leaky defence there, and it just nearly like a hole popped right on through there.
Oh, so you know the solution to leaky defence, more holes. Let's sub on the colander.
Well,
Sure,
I
you
think
quite thought that one through.
No, I think his colander's got bigger gaps in it. Yours was smaller.
Saved. Beautifully done, Danny. It's Horizons at the back. Sifts this ball to the side. Strains the back of that defence. Deromus with a cheeky plop of a shot towards the target. You were seeing last week him testing the crossbar, testing the backboard time and time again, in hopes it would draw out those defenders. And, well, I remember one magical moment for the Mustangs that pushed them to top 8 qualification, and it happened exactly from that.
Yeah, I feel like I also know which one you may be alluding to outright here, that certain people might be wishing that they couldn't see that one again, as Deromus tips that one forward, and Dave, he's got 2 options on the same width of the pitch here, and that's the problem when you play this way. You know, it becomes so easily read that, you know, your opposition can simply double stack you. And Stimple was doing that as Horizon backflips. They've got a second time at a 2-0 lead here.
Cheeky pop-up high from Deromus, but it was the bump that came after that was so pivotal to disrupt that defence. And the 2 players at the back couldn't quite respond to what was a very good finish.
Shows you half a second. All what you need, and Stephen, unfortunately not into the play here. Back pass not happening. Activates at least Deromus onto the play right down here, and it's a launching ball, so they've essentially sat there and said, we don't trust our defence here, let's just lob the ball once we get a lead here.
Deromus in field with an absolute heifer of a touch, but Tyler struggling to find a follow-through, lets Horizons go through on the bypass, and 100 boost nabbed to sustain this pressure long-term. Here comes Tyler. Swings it over to the backboard, and a little redirect from Horizons, but Stimplebog's got it covered.
I'm just sort of sitting back and enjoying it, because the last time we were talking about this Royal Navy lineup as well, the Old Insomnia got mentioned. It was Horizon being one of the very few players alongside Stimple from, of course, that community who joined. And, you know, I got the same,
disparities, let's say, in the regions of GC1 now vastly improved since, what, 3 years, 4 years at this point now. So the fact he's going for shots like that and the rest of his team is too, it shows you there could be something magical here if they can get this goal in the right end of the net here.
Brilliant idea from Stemplebog, who was on the backboard for the sole purposes of a cheeky bump. Unfortunately, no contact found as that ball pings in field, and it's easy pickings for Tyler here, who has support. Here he's going to come to slice that ball towards target, but it's a soft touch towards the orange side. DeRomas for the double touch down in front of Dave. It's almost a bit of magic there from DeRomas.
At his peak for the first time, and Steven with 2 excellent saves. Doesn't matter. When you have Stimple, it is simple.
Beautiful follow through from Tyler. And it was an easy finish for Stimple. He's going to be running away very, very happy with that poach in front of the 6-yard box. Horizons now tries to get that bump. Nothing gives. So darts back for that 100 boost. Needs to tip this to a teammate. Tyler's there with 0 boost in hot pursuit. And the conga line of misery for the Krakens has let them down here.
Sorry, how can you have a conga line of misery?
Just imagine a conga line with the same audio problems that our wonderful producer behind the scenes, Tangerine, had to deal with for some of his hobbies earlier.
Well, they're sitting there with maracas while dancing in this line with no sound, no joy, and no, you know.
This just sounds like my kind of weekend. Where can I sign up?
Oh, new tournament team name. Joyless Maracas. Tyler infield. We gotta make that a thing, haven't we?
Joe, how about we just have a competition? We'll just sneak ourselves into the bracket here. Bit of duct tape, write it on it with a Sharpie.
A big smiley face that says Danny was here. Tyler, soft touch, tips it above one. Lovely bit of air roll to control that round. And a crunching pinch sends the Dragons flying out of that back net. 20 seconds left on the clock. There is still time to make this equal.
And it just shows you one little sniff of an opportunity is all what you need. And there was a glint in the eyes there, rightly pointed out with that oh no. But it could be oh yes on the other side of it as Horizon tips it. One last chance from here.
Over to the backboard. Dave is there. And he's going to feed it down, but it's to a player in blue. The ball still alive, still begging for an infield opportunity. Tyler gets up as fast as those little legs could carry him, but RF Mustangs ultimately came out on top. And the first game, Danny, it wasn't convincing from the Krakens. They got the victory at the end of the day. And this scoreline, I think, a fairer representation because the Mustangs had the Krakens number there.
They did, consistently, you can sit there and say, back and forth of it, but what is the major difference between them, let's say the first 2 games was the kickoff element. Now suddenly here, once you remove that, the Kraken still have that venom to put across here, which, fair play to them, but why are the slow starters? That's the bit that's scratching my head here.
It's difficult, isn't it? And I think moving forward to game number 3, the one thing Krakens need to work on is just stiffening up that third man a little bit. Just making sure he can position for the worst case outcome. Because far too often, Danny, am I seeing that challenge go wrong in front of net and there not be the response to make up for it. And it's an awkward thing as a team, sort of going in with the mindset of we need to play as if things are going to go wrong. But certainly to just keep a few of those cheaper goals coming through, I think it would go the extra mile for Krakens here.
Well, good thing they aren't getting coached by me because I call that the Teletubby defense.
Right, you're going to have to explain yourself on this one. Is that because they're all going la-la, or is it something similar?
That's exactly it.
Oh, it is. Predictable as ever, somehow, with a Teletubbies reference. There you go.
Yeah, you have Whoopsie and Princey Poe as well, but plenty of descriptions that can be described here. But once again, for the first time, at least in this series, we do have at least the Krakens getting off the mark here.
Definitely so, and Stimplebog ever present in those positions to put away a tidy finish. And that one was a simple drive-by of the ball there, as Tyler not able to make a touch off of this play. Horizon's going to back down, let him play the ball across, open up the width of the field a little bit.
Essentially one demo sort of jump and challenge by Jeromas, and you had Dave the sweep in, which has allowed this pressure and passing play. If we actually sat there and drived in the ball with actually pace on to it, the Mustangs would have, at least a chance on target. The fear the keeper. Now Stephen once again, infield pass. It's so obvious. It's so deadly. It's so Dave.
What can you say about this one? Horizons, just as you said, he knows it's coming and he can't do anything about it. There's just too many options to cover. The RAF Mustangs picking their mark splendidly.
Marksmanship at its finest. Jeromas up already from the kickoff too, and Dave once more with the shot here. Horizon cannot do anything about this.
Great finish again. And it's off the back of that sideways infield pass from Jeromas. Gave way. That sort of free pathway for Dave to strut his stuff. And there was no chance of a Kraken's player responding as quick as the Mustangs right there.
It's a funny old game because we've sat here and we've seen arguably 3 completely different games here.
It's very strange. But no stranger to finding an absolute miracle is Stephen Andrews. And he's just positioned on that left-hand flank with all the space in the world to rocket that one home.
The fact that you just found that pass picked out perfectly. Killer instinct, really. And it's a type of quality that you don't see in, your wine field, as I refer to the modern game. It's always the air dribbles or the flip resets, but that type of passing play we don't see a lot of.
It's magical when it does happen as well, because it takes that coordination, it takes the communication just to say, I'm legging it downfield, I'm here as an option. And it's bravery. And when you're a team that has a 2-1 advantage, that's a rare thing. Because typically you just want to kind of huddle in your shell of comfortability when you've got a lead. You want to play it a bit more defensive. But I think Mustangs, like you said, that killer instinct just spurring them on.
Well, we've had the Macarenas of misery, and essentially the joys of pleasure at the passing play, and now it's this one tipping around the woodwork. The complete polar opposites of the RAF Mustang from game 2 and 3, and that one's shipped above the head of Stephen Andrews as Steve drops back, touches it forward, and he actually had a little bit more time than he realised on it.
Great shot towards the top left, and it's all that's required for Tyler as he's seemingly parted the seas of the Mustangs.
There's all have to be credit as well for Horizons, who darted around that third of the pitch, caused the split in the first place. Now, once again, a 3-2 scoreline. And the RAF Mustangs has got to be very much careful here. They can't afford to play careful. That's what they've tried to do now twice and been caught twice.
Call it a banana split, because these Mustangs have slipped up. They need a quick response here. As Horizons comes together with that 50-50, it's still pressure in favour of the Krakens. Albeit a tall order for Horizons to get back to this ball. And almost sinks it past Dave. Great defending at the back there as the air dribble comes through to bait 2. Maybe a bump on that last defender. No contact found, and here comes that counter.
Stevenson well, Dave's around. Almost needs to essentially keep that ball middle, doesn't do it outright. Stephen Andrews got to be careful. Jeromas bails out the potential danger. Was past, of course, the 2-minute mark left in the game. But you just know about 4 chances left either side. Just want to actually take the most off it here, because it has been played on the left side of the pitch throughout the most of it. And once again, the Royal Navy tries to pull out that play.
Lovely soft touch from Horizons. There is A sniff of an infield option there in Stimplebog, who's back down for the time being. And Tyler to resume affairs from the backboard. He's just going to camp on that 100 boost and let Dave play with his food here, which I think is a dangerous thing to do when you know the power of these redirects downfield, the power of that backboard from the Mustangs. I wouldn't want to let them use that advantage.
Only part. Arguably one of the most famous songs, ironically also in the darting world, that Dave knows quite familiar. The question is, who's got the snap? Quick play either from here is Tyler. Stuff deliberate, purposefully on it. It's, you know, fortunately everybody on the RF Mustangs missed that one, but it wasn't Buddage. Clear open net, and Taylor just has to sink it home, and arguably the best goal so far.
Watch that ball back, because that is far from simple, that finish. And he's got such a tidy angle on that ball with enough power to see it underneath the crossbar before Stephen can get back. And I know it looks textbook, Danny, but that is a very, very good finish.
Certainly is, and if Stelios was in the commentary booth, he would have described that as world-class. And if he did, I would have had very few room to argue with him on that particular case. And deja vu, here it comes again.
Well, I've not seen two crossed in their tracks just as convincingly as that pass through from Tyler. Horizons with the heavy lifting of the finish at the end there, but my goodness, was that a play.
Big kickoff. The RM Mustangs is trying to do a Royal Navy special. Doesn't pay off here. And Stephen is just going to watch Tyler whip that one away. And again, right to the back line. Snow boost. There's a starved RAF at the back here.
Nice. Given away for DeRomas to get through, though, because it was a loose challenge as that ball chips up high. Dave needs to find a teammate and drops it central, but no boost. And a starved RAF Mustangs roster. Left thinking, where did that game 3 go wrong for them? Because it, again, just snapped and the tide turned in an instant thanks to the Krakens there.
And you know what? If you just had a bit of, a tidier defense here, you could have sat here and made a reasonable argument shipping an RAF Mustangs 3-0 sweep.
Really? I mean, genuinely, they approached this game number 3 and game 1 as well with so much confidence in their play. And we're seeing that downfield positioning, those threats that they're offering from all angles of the pitch. And it seemingly was going to have no response. Right now, the Krakens, dare I say, have woken up. They've got that individual sort of ornate mechanical ability, that speed to their play. They've also got that vision. Here comes another infield ball towards Stimplebog. Rather Horizons, who's actually going to be awarded with the finish here to make it 1 goal to the good.
Yeah, just not able to get back in time due to the fact of Dave's thrown the body to the ball as well to the player. So 6 seconds, quick goal. And do you know what? The last time around, this game here started with a Royal Navy lead. It was the RAF Mustangs, credit to them, responded with a quick counter punch, and there it is again.
It's always him. DeRomas, the recipient of a picture-perfect infield pass. And what can he do other than score?
I'm glad that it's DeRomas who's faced with that question and not us.
Oh, if it was us, Danny, we'd be doomed. But the pressure still looming. Ball knocked up high, attempting to bait out that RAF Mustangs attack. They have succeeded in that venture. It's low boost numbers, but still very nice rotation here from the Mustangs just to keep the ball going. But that's a massive pinch downfield to wave goodbye.
Certainly is. I'm a fan of the Mustangs here. Dave could have went to the back wall, could have took an extra touch. David could have just sat there and waited patiently. Could have, should have, but didn't. Costly mistakes here. And famously, and most importantly, match point here. Just 1 goal is what was required. That was the RF Mustang to salvage here.
DeRomas licks his lips, opts for that backboard play. Tyler has it covered that time around, becoming all too familiar with that avenue of opportunity. As DeRomas is going to bail out his teammates here. Horizon's taking this ball back. Tyler to cut back inside nice and quickly here. And the Mustangs really playing slow here as Horizon's baiting forwards the attack. There goes two in one foul swoop. Infield ball towards Dimplebog. And surely it's Tyler for the finish, but they've collided towards that back corner. And that's an opportunity gone.
We'll pull the scope back up. That should have been buried. And Tyler, that's a horrible ball, but it should have set up a teammate much more cleanly. And no crunch. If you just had a bit more boost here, it could have been easily 2-2. Doromas is flying straight down, and Stephen Andrews not in the right state or position here to play off it until that moment. And unfortunately, you can sit here and have the best positional play that the RAF Mustang is trying to achieve, but you have to have an opportunity, you have to gamble, and that's how it goes in.
Is that how it happens, Danny? The equalising goal. Stimplebog has fallen foul to just a little bit of excitement. Desire to get up to that ball quickly. No contact found. The pressure might be getting to them, you know.
Gravity's a cruel thing. I still don't believe that's the second time we've been on together in a critical match where that's happened.
Indeed, and the Kraken's got to patch that up as Horizon's infield ball. Stuffed away by Dave at that front post backboard. Here comes the wraparound from Tyler, who is just so quick back into the play. Stimplebog towards the backboard. Lovely touch from Dave to see that ball clearance, and 100 boost to play with for the downfield hoof.
And that's a juicy little drop. Nearly pass off as well. Should be a bind downfield. This has to go. Oh, you can just... It was set up in just a way here. The RM Mustang had the right idea, but not the positional play. But the recyclement of the ball here needs to be crisper.
Certainly got to make it count as Horizons is dunked away. Aims to get a bump on the backboard, but Tyler's aimed to play low there. That sort of individual contribution has really helped out the Krakens here. Horizons looking awkward, but is able to make that all-important recovery.
A bit of boost management there, not using any more than necessary through to Romas's contribution.
Stimple awkward here, and Iron Mustangs is essentially once again playing that careful approach to arguably the detriment here. That to the back wall needs to be whipped in the middle if they have any sense of pressure. That could be an own goal. Should have been way high. Tyler touched it, got away with one.
Tyler's done incredibly well to make sure that ball is not a goal in the colour of orange here as the Roma strikes again. It was an awkward angle to generate some power, and they're fine for the time being. High ball tempts out Tyler and Stimplebog to the challenge as the ball back in the mixer. Dave just calls the fake. Opts to really just back out of that challenge there.
Good leave. Simple bang down the field is what the Mustangs ordered. Horizon's awkward. Dave has an idea of a challenge if he wanted to. He doesn't allow for it, so back it goes for a deep seaming clearer here of the other Mustangs, but it's far from it. The Royal Navy's done ever so well to keep that one away from essentially a pressure point here, and just like that, I would argue here, OT.
Not too soon, Danny, not too soon! But it's a miss from Tyler. Horizons to clean up. And it's all thanks to one pre-jump play that just didn't go the right way for the RAF Mustangs, and the counter-attack was always going to result in that.
Only once has the RAF Mustangs got a kick-off goal in this series. It's been the Royal Navy, who's got it at least 4 or 5 times comfortably. One chance, that's all they're going to be afforded here. And oh, they had to go! And Dave and Stephen Andrews has watched Aromas potentially seal that to the crossbar. Not much could have been done with the jump, mind you. 10 seconds, a big heave-hove needed.
I cannot believe that's not a goal. And the Royal Navy Krakens right now have come away with a win in a best-of-5 series that through and through, time and time again, looked outside of their control. GG's in chat across the board from the players, but the Mustangs are going to feel hurt with that loss.
It's arguably the greatest robbery we've seen this season so far here, and the Royal Navy from at the start of the broadcast potentially not playing with their full roster, and so they Stimple rocks up here like it was some kind of prime induction. You know, you have to give credit, you know, probably didn't have much of a warm-up perfectly in terms of, you know, slotting himself in, but you could have easily, and I sat here and said it, this should have been a 3-0 RAF Mustang. It's not, though.
It's certainly not, and the Krakens are going to waltz on forwards to that lower round of 6, where there might be a few unpleasant memories of how that elapsed last time around, just a single game outside of their control, and that was all it took for that series to spiral last time around when we caught the playoffs last week, Danny. This time around, they want a change of tone, and I think right now they're going to be very happy knowing they have more than gained an advantage when it comes to that sort of playoff qualification for the grand finals itself. That right there could be the difference of a single point, but that is massive.
Well, it certainly is, and you know, just one result as well. And we'll throw this into the conversation. I mean, if the Nighthawks were to beat the Typhoons, you know, you suddenly here now have a stretching middle pack as well, not top 8, but you know, far too much still to work out here at, you know, qualifier 3 with lots of games still to be played here.
Definitely so. And speaking of games to come, we'll be going to a short break to figure out the next games. There is one result to come through so far, Danny. The SEA Dragons have managed to take their game 3-0 against the RAF Storm Shadows up in that upper bracket. But the rest remains to be seen. So we'll see you after this short break.
Out here, every millisecond counts. And in here, every millisecond counts too. Never let delays ruin the action. Upgrade your Wi-Fi to Wi-Finity. Use code BFBS50 to get 50% off your first 3 months.
kept holding on, but now that it's too late, I got nowhere else to run. How can I come out of this alive? Watch it all go up in flames.
Welcome back, everybody, to the BFBS Pro League main event number 3, playoffs. Myself and Danny have been bringing you the action from the lower round of 8, and it was the Krakens who managed to overcome a very hungry RAF Mustangs who faltered, albeit with a fantastic performance in their own right. But we've moved forward to the next round, and we do have results, of course, through from all of the other games which we weren't able to catch the action of. The British Army Esports Buzzards 3-1 against the British Army Esports Falcons. That's going to be a nice sort of confidence boost for the Falcons, taking that one individual game up in the upper bracket. The SEA Dragons versus Storm Shadows. That was a 3-0 towards the SEA Dragons. So that leaves us with the match we have in front of us, Danny. British Army Esports Falcons versus the RAF Typhoons. And we've seen this one before.
Well, I love how you describe it moving forward, but it's almost like it's been transported back in time. It's the third time outright in the playoffs we've seen this matchup before. We saw history-making back in qualifier 1, where the Falcons was actually able to beat their RAF counterparts for the first time, at least in competition in BFS in over a year, not including the inter-service. But if you did, it still would have been also accurate, that statement. So hence, it was a lot for them to do so. But the awkwardness of it didn't last long. The Typhoons came right back at them, and you suddenly sort of going, it's 1-1 in this best-of-5 series in the playoffs. Arguably, you need a decider here.
We definitely do, and we need a bit of vengeance if you're a Typhoons fan, because they, of the two rosters, Danny, dare I say, are looking more uncomfortable within that top 8, and they need a little push to give them some confidence, and certainly pushing their way through to the semi-finals would be exactly that. But I could go on and say the same for the Falcons as well, as I do believe we've got both teams ready and raring to go, Danny.
Well, certainly so, and I think both sides will be looking at it and sort of trying to make that point. You know, that sort of major bit of it is, you know, Pierce is not playing, you know, that sort of big steps, and Bale is the man that's stepping in. You know, we talk about players in terms of how good he is. He's the player that, shall we say, hasn't experienced the derby itself across all the inter-services ways of form-up. He has really been thrown in the deep end of things.
Definitely so, and really has the most important job to help propel this Typhoons roster through to glory. And a roster which I'm sure has been so hungry ever since Qualifier 1. And Bale, we always alluded to in sort of the pre-season, Danny, as being that player to watch ever since the start of this year. Look where he is now.
Well, effectively sitting within the top 2 of the RAF structure in the format of their own internal system, but now 4th overall in the BFBF, and you sort of sit there and you sort of go, when is that moment to elevate back within winning ways? Because this is a roster that doesn't know what losing feels like. It's been unfamiliar, that sense of feeling. They do not want it to become, shall we say, the new norm.
Definitely so, and we're glorifying the Typhoons as if they're the ones to beat, but the reality is the Falcons have been firing on all cylinders all season long, and have not whiffed anything other than that sort of upper echelon coming through Swiss. But Pod is going to have to watch that one go in the back of his net.
That's sad, unfortunate. But I mean, we've been sitting there and reasonably building this as the old-fashioned derby. I mean, there's a few other ones. The Tempest now, the RAFs, you know, Storm Shadows, just likewise have their own. But unfortunately, SES Dragons and the fellow others might be sort of nip and tuck, but we always look back at this as like the El Clasico for good reason. It provides the upset, provides the thrill. But you know what, here, it's the old name himself. Cedric's been the major difference maker, and you know, we had the show match over the RAF, and we were able to listen to the comms. My word, he makes a massive difference when he's on form.
Yeah, definitely so, and it's a world of sort of confidence as a team when you can start firing those comms off nice and clearly, nice and quickly. And at the moment, it is the Typhoons who have the better of their opposition. Envy, of course, is always that star player you have to look at for the Typhoons. Not necessarily for being the player to win a series, but for being a player to facilitate as well. He's such a a selfless player, but also has the quality to do it all by himself, Danny.
Certainly is, and he would not appreciate if it hasn't been mentioned as well. The two-time inter-service in the 3v3 world, as well as the 1v1, and outright a 2K player in his own field. So in the 2v2 world, if you didn't mention that, he would be upset and angry. So nice to see you're not going to be on the Christmas card soon.
Definitely so, and I saw him even doing a cheeky rank check in the Army Discord when he got his 2K, so it's clear he needs to be speaking about this to the world because that is his competition at the end of the day, and he deserves to be feared. Cedric is going to patiently wait for that ball to come across, but almost a little too patiently.
There's nothing wrong with taking your time, Psycho.
Certainly not, and usually I'm the flail and pray sort of character, shall we say, on the game. I could probably take some notes.
Well, you should, learn from the best. I mean, you've got a shot named after yourself. I haven't seen the Envy play yet.
Well, we've just seen the Okra play. There it is. Infield, and it's off the back of a sloppy touch from Cedric, but the infield ball from Pod was absolutely sublime.
Certainly is, and I mean, who will look at it and sort of Rush, as in the man himself, will be enjoying that particular one. And you know what? We sit here and look at this matchup, and we said it was going to be a classic for its own right here. Only 1-1 here. The last time they really belt the numbers out, you have to cast your mind back to the qualifier one. And you know what here? Even the goals that was being scored in was of quality.
Definitely so. A moment. Okra's got it all to play through out the back. Gids is up for the redirect. Touch! Fires it away with the belly of his car. Tucks it away in the bottom left, and you can see Ed's just waiting for that ball to come the opposite direction. It's a genius touch there.
Just sublime. Just brilliant. I mean, normally we give a lot of stick to the defense, but you just have to give credit where it's due. When Cedric done exactly that, man was beaten, couldn't do much about it, and Rush once more with an infield pass and play, and Gids not going to slip that one in for a 3-1 lead here. Still doable here if the Typhoons can just do it, and Harbor bottom right placement.
It's a perfect bit of transitional play, isn't it? Envy downfield, pre-positioned on that backboard, and he knew throwing himself for that initial challenge was going to put himself in that position to be a threat. Look how quickly it comes.
Just easy. When it just rolls right in front of you, you have to score them. And that's a very much an important demo by Gids. Soft and low, that should be the play. And then we read it. And Bales with no boost here. Should be a swinging shot. And Cedric, just a critical touch at the motion of time there. But with that just said here, 30 seconds is about a loom on our clock here. I just would sit there and suggest here that both sides might want to actually slow the gameplay down a tad here.
Bale, infield towards the target. Shows no signs of hesitation, nor slowing down. As the pressure attempted to be amped up there by the Typhoons. They've lost control of that sort of offensive rotation. Just look how deep on the field the Typhoons are now. They're almost playing for the OT already.
Well, can you blame them? Don't want to be the one making the mistake here. Envy to the side. Bale's waiting. Good demo. And unfortunately, Charlie would like to have that one back. Good bump, and that should be buried. It has been, and the captain snapped up, but it's Bale that needs the credit here.
And always as a first man, you're told, get past your first player, but try and beat two while you're at it. Often use that flip reset, use that air dribble to carve apart the defense. Right there from Bale, that's just brute force.
Certainly is. And that was softly dropped to the ground here. And the Typhoons a bit lucky to sit there and say that that was the goal, how they went through here. But either way off it, 3-2. Not a bad result here for them. But, we did get a bit of insight that they arguably could have been beaten by the RAF Nighthawks. I think they've learned their lessons here.
I mean, there's learning your lessons, and then there's beating the Falcons in game one after a history which hasn't always gone their way. And I do have to give credit for that little moment of brilliance from Bale at the end there. And he could have easily played for something arguably more selfish, more flashy. And I think Bale is playing his best when he opts to sort of play more of a team role. And we know he's got his mechanics and his abundance, and he can beat, you know, an entire team off the back of one controlled play. But so often is that the bearer of bad news. If you lose out on those 50s, you lose out on those moments where you try to do it all by yourself. Whereas, you know, sometimes doing it the hard way of just brute force, Danny, can really pay you some rewards.
Certainly could do. And that one is a flip reset right into it. And you sat there and talked about the first man and what they want to do as well. And, Joe, it's going to be the moment when Bale clicks into this team that will, you know, elevate it. It's just a question on that. When will it happen here? And you know what? You know, to sit here and talk about the Falcons here. At what stage here are they just going to ramp up here? Because we saw the few moments of passing play, the ability to drop down the ball here. If they get that right as well here, we're talking fireworks, and the pitch is already matching that tier.
Definitely so. We've seen the early warning signs. We've seen the flare as Edric's going to go for the flip reset there. Bale on the follow-up had no other option but blue. The Falcons very well positioned to deal with that threat. Okra in the corner is going to be called into question here. Dragged out of position. Cedric in field as that ball teeters and just topples in field. But there's no mitts on the other end of it there. And I'll be honest, it seems to me Falcons got away with that.
Certainly did. Not much Bale could have done, but that's somewhat alluding to the fact of you just need to slow down a tad. And we're seeing own goals this qualifier 3. That's up there.
VAR check. Hold on. Did he get a bump there? As he comes around the back. Oh, I'm not sure he did. I don't think there's even a whisper contact in there.
There was enough there to fit your colander, never mind the bump.
Here's you with your analogy that the colander's leaking. Boy, have we changed tones, haven't we, Daddy?
Well, again, different holes of colanders have different purposes. Some can do rice quite well, some can do cabbage and lettuce. All on the purpose.
I can't do any of those personally as Envy shifts the ball to the side. Bale. Downfield. Lurking for that downfield opportunity, but they're on defence. And you can see Cedric at the back. He's by that front post and he just sits in awe because what can you do?
Wait.
And he's waited and waited some more. And by the time the bus has arrived at his stop, unfortunately, a goal has been put in his back net. Envy with an open opportunity, and it's such an aggressive kickoff from the Falcons, and you have to think, why have you opted for that?
That's been the way they've been doing it so far this season here, the Falcons as well as the Buzzards, that type of forceful kickoff. Why? You have to ask them. They're going to sit there and justify the reasonings, but this one may just pay off here. Cedric's lucky enough here, but Gids, free shot, free net, and unfortunately, ding, ding, your microwave either just went off or the crossbar's been hit.
Ping! Dinner's ready. Okra's on the menu. I think that's a food, isn't it? It's a vegetable of some kind.
Oh, I'm going to let you think about that for a second.
Well, there's Wikipedia. My old friend Okra, known in some English-speaking countries as ladies' fingers. There you go, Danny. Confirmed food.
Well, with that mist busted on air, are you prepared to make any to prove it is edible?
I don't need to make it. You just have to grow it. And I'm sure Jonah, if he has chosen a poor time to listen into this broadcast, might be thinking about that for his garden. That's a question for another time. We're in the 5th heat wave. Pod, infield ball. It's a great shot towards the post. And at the moment, it's just impossible to call because there's these moments of brilliance from either side, but they sure love a post.
Certainly do. Now, this sort of way they've been going here, you might need a cauldron. But bubbling, squeaking, throw in the fingers as well. Drop that one nicely into the middle for the play. And we might just have a bit of herbology thrown into the mix here.
I forget, finely diced, elegantly presented, Sometimes you just have to welly it. And at the moment, Falcons seem to be the recipients of success from that specific recipe. As Bale beaten out. There goes Cedric at that front post, struggling to make that touch. It's absolutely fine for the Falcons as they step forwards for the double touch. Gids in front of net with absolutely nothing from the tank. And the entire length of the field has found a wonder goal here.
It's landed perfectly on him as well. Precision, accuracy. You just have to sit back and admire a bit of brilliance. Where have I heard that line today?
Certainly not from my performances, Danny. It's a
I
great
don't
change
know.
of pace, isn't it?
I've seen genius before.
It wasn't me. And no, that's not the start of some lyrics to a very old song. There's Okra downfield, beaten away by that cut inside. And Envy's got it all to play for by himself here. Double touch bound towards the backboard, but it's a wonderful clearance from Pod. He got so much power off of that touch.
Well, certainly is, and another crossbar, and Woodwork denying that one. It's just a shame me here that unfortunately Styko's sitting there and talking about some of the old classic pops here, but doesn't know what brat is.
Oh my goodness, it's hit the crossbar twice, and Pod has followed through. And I was beginning to worry if they're just listening into the broadcast and doing it for a bit of fun at this point in time.
Well, they were at the impressive accuracy.
Well, that one. What do you think of that?
I don't like it. It didn't hit the woodwork.
Well, if you look for beautiful presentation, like I said, sometimes you just have to welly it.
I've seen us play over the years here. You're not known for welling it that much.
Or maybe
Or
I
is
should
my-
call up Stimple Bog. Of course, ex-professional bogger back in his youth, I heard.
I'm just so glad here that he is Irish heritage to some degree for that word to have its proper meaning and use being, shall we say, through the old dictionary being rattled through the pages here. But yeah, I don't think he's the man that you'll be sitting here looking for the old-fashioned hoof, though.
7-2 is now the scoreline for the Falcons, and this has gone from a little bit of a bad dream to an absolute nightmare. On the end of the Typhoons, who started this series oh so strong. It's just almost as if when that first domino piece topples, it's just got this cascading effect, and Typhoons, they struggle to recover. And I'm sure you've got the likes of Stelios behind the scenes, egging them on and reminding them of what is possible in a situation like this. But it's an uphill battle almost.
I think Stales decided to hide behind the couch with that scoreline.
Well, I wouldn't blame him, because it could be worse. Pod aiming towards that back net. And it's going to be another game to forget for the Typhoons, but ultimately still a best of 3 left to play in this series, Danny. And the Typhoons, they've recovered dire circumstances. We talked about how in the previous round, very briefly, that they reverse swept the Nighthawks to find themselves in this very positions. And that is a Nighthawks roster which is constantly changing at the moment. And they've brought in some new quality for today as well. And by new, I mean of the old guard as well, Danny. But Typhoons, they are the topic of conversations right now. And they have more in them. I know they do.
It's not a question about having it within you, it's unlocking that ability at key moments. And you know well enough here that, you know, if you're not performing, it's a frustrating feeling, and that's what it is. Because at some point here, the Typhoons has essentially got to sit here and make a decision on when do you just decide to, let's call it send it. You've got to make that decision, it's when.
It's a 1v1 situation. Cedric wins out on the challenge. And downfield he darts for that demo as well. Finds it with confidence. And Bale for the 50 infield. Envy's certainly going to get there first as Gids and Okra double commit on that backboard. It's a little bit of a higher tempo from the Typhoons here.
For the same name, and that's a poor shot by Envy standard. Even Cedric with a bit of work to do defensively here, and he's decided to cut it in. That's a bold decision. Bale sitting back, but Envy wasn't back in the full rotation, so it was a must play if Bale was unfortunately left in that situation here. Thankfully not here, downwards ball. And you know what here, both sides you can say here, guilty of throwing possession away too cheaply.
Definitely so, but they're certainly doing what you've advised them to, and that's go all in. And know when to just go for it. At the moment, I've seen moments where I thought all the Typhoons are going to struggle to get back to this one, and exactly the same for the Falcons as this British Army roster readying themselves for that opportunity to come. Demo on the back lines of Okra there, and Envy's hungry for more. He's looking for a second bump as well.
You know, he must have ate G-Wood for lunch. He's out-demoed the man himself who's mastered that proficiency.
I'm sure he'll be smiling watching this performance. Indeed, he is able to, and not performing up for the Storm Shadows roster. Lovely touch from Envy to clear that ball to the halfway point, as he is going to be kindly receiving another opportunity to 50-50. Keep the ball in field. Give yourself those opportunities. And Vale, for a moment of time, I thought could get back to that ball. It's a great shot from Ed, but it's off the woodwork again.
Oh, it was a floater, but this one could be the drop that needs to go. Unfortunately, not being served right into the net here. Cedric with a shot here needs a bit of follow-up, and Bale with no boost and no energy really to run at it. This one lacked a bit of energy that required his skids. He's actually throwing possession away, and unfortunately the Typhoons' sort of positional play is lacking this evening here, because that would have been a prime opportunity just to snipe the net there.
Kids all by himself needs a little bit of support here as Cedric has followed through on the touch. Good demo from Bale. He didn't need the touch, he just needed the pressure, and here comes Envy to solidify an infield chance. Cedric, he's in the midfield, he's ready, he's prepared, and he's always going to score that.
You have to give credit here to Bale. May not been picked up on the replay, but went for the bump onto the keeper, forcing the keeper essentially move up and had that response. And we've seen kickoff goals this evening. That one's a critical one.
Let's just watch that one back. Neutralised entirely was the Falcons' defence, because it's just in that awkward blind spot from a kickoff where it rolls back towards your corner, but just enough for the team with momentum. 2 goals to the good now for the Typhoons.
It's just not a neutralisation, it's a full reaction on the other end of it, as Falcons trying to essentially find a way here to add the acidity to their play here, but have not found the right point here. Bit of heave-ho by Gids here. Passing plays actually left it smartly too. And again, when you have this level of complexity, when we talk about communication, that's when it was just a clear sign it's broken down. Not the same performance we saw at the 7-2 earlier.
Pod up for the 50. Infield towards Okra would be preferable, but Envy's got other ideas as he zap dashes his way back into the play there as Bale drops it down. I think with no boost was just trying to aim to give it back in Envy's possession, who was also suffering a bit of a drought there. The attack nonetheless continues onwards. 2-goal advantage here, and Okra trying to do something fancy here infield. It's a ball towards Gids, and a giant pocket of space to sink that home.
Actually trying to see the replay out right here, and it's just poor Envy left alone. And it's that sort of bit of decision making, and I normally wind up, you know, the keeper should never be beaten on his near side post. There wasn't anybody there, and it's a simple tap in for that factor. And once again here, you have to give credit here to the Falcons. Their side that does not quit in the middle of the match here, as that one's 3-1, and the Typhoons once again doing what they've done earlier in the competition.
Perfect connection on that downfield hoof, and Envy picks his mark. 79 kph, but it's unstoppable for a Falcons who pushed that high line. No doubt full of energy from that second goal. Rather, their first in this particular game. Cedric off for the ceiling, tempting fate for another infield ball. It's worked for them before, and I think they're recycling that same formula.
Oh, it's not broken. Might replace it as simply as that. Here is a passing play. Oh, just leave it. Just leave it. He nearly does. Could have used the front of the car and let Bale take it over. Keep Cedric on the flank for the pass and give. But either way, 3-1 to the good here. They don't need to overextend.
MV pushes the ball towards net. Gids is empty. He's absolutely starved. Has to watch the ball fly by. But of course, the Typhoons, clueless. Because why would he be empty there? That falls off the crossbar. Envy for the counter-attack, and the seconds tick on down. And there you go. Typhoons ultimately on top here, Danny.
I do love that, sir. Old bit of the phrase back in the day, you know, make yourself big and scary. And that's what Gid's done in that last few seconds here to keep that sort of clueless expression. But either way, you know, Typhoons here, I'm not saying they're lucky here. I don't mean that in any way to put their performance down this evening. But how they're getting away with some of the victories, you have to sit there and say they're not doing anything special here to outdo it. It's an old tinkering of the class there. One good pass and play right through, and you know, and suddenly here they're opening up 1-0, and they've settled down here. But it's not the same level that we've seen from them, and that's a bit of a problem. It's like they've got their gears stuck in the engine here.
One player I do think has all the cogs whirring at the moment is Bale at the moment. And I do like the way he's approaching the play. So often has he found himself the recipient of some really deadly balls to deal with in dire circumstances with nothing in the tank, and he's just been in that position to get rid. And downfield as well, a good bit of creativity and sort of experienced thoughts to the way he's approaching the field, but plenty of time left for the Typhoons to make this series work for them.
Well, is it wisdom being put through the years on the young man's shoulders? Of course, will be the essence here. It's the passing play. It's just keeping it into the corner, forcing the defence here. But the former RAF Storm Shadows line up essentially what they can do here. Gids leaving awkward, nice bit of delay and patience. Remove the offensive player in the form of Cedric, and then it's just been safely into the corner, forcing in the questions here off the Typhoon.
High ball towards Ed. He's going to settle the ball down with a wallop of a touch, which I think wasn't quite what he was after there. There he goes, scampering back to defence. Heavy ball forwards. He's not going to find a teammate here unless MV can get there first. He does so courtesy of that whiff on the other end. Cedric, the time to kill in the corner now.
Hasn't done too much of the time given for his team. Bale gone, Envy's up. Here should be a sidewall read. Will be matched, mind you, by the player that seems to be arguably the most influential, and it seems to be arguably the most ball touches in the form of Gids here. And it's unusual because, you know, we know how good he is at goal scorer, we know how good he is defensively, but he's not getting the same service here in the latter of the games here.
No, he's been sort of stricken of opportunities to show his full caliber, dare I say, as that ball is slotted towards the top right-hand corner. Envy just with a punt downfield, and Pod couldn't get his touch on it.
Don't know, there was a slight bump there, but it was enough to be a nuisance either way. And, you know, it's easy in those situations to slightly lose the mental as well. Just when you know in a game that you have to win here and don't concede sloppily, they will put that down, as unfortunately that, as Pod tries for a demo attempt, eliminates at least the chance. As Gids' shot goes wide here, back it goes. And Joe, what, they've got to be careful because they've got a half a game here and they've overextended twice here.
Such an important final couple of minutes now for the Typhoons, who, as I alluded to, if they come away with this win and they see themselves through to that semi-finals, the chances of them making that grand finals skyrockets. As Pod now for the 1v1 to play the disruptor to what has been a dynasty team. The addition of Bale, Storm Shadows turn Typhoons, turns an equal score here.
If you just keep turning, you'll end right back up to this matchup. It has been like this for 2-3 years, and it's been that man since he came onto the inter-service stage, won the competition in his first ever outing in the RAF jersey. Nearly breaking that deadlock, descended into a semi-final position. They have been eluding themselves away from top-end finishes up the competition so far. They want it, they need it for themselves. And Cedric taken away from the ball this time around.
Bale, zero boost on a charge, spots Cedric downfield, he goes for the infield pass, that ball straight towards net, and he's made a crucial recovery. There's another shot through from Okra there. And you can see it coming a mile away, just how that play unfolded. Look at the width on this Falcon side.
Credit to even Paul, done everything that he had to. The original setup just sweeps right through the defence, forces Envy up, forces even then Bale to wobble onto the woodwork. Stability gone at the foundations when they had led for a majority of this match. And then tied it up in the key points here. The Falcons, that's what they needed. And Joe Watt here, once again, potentially a decider in the best of 5 going the distance. I wouldn't say no to that.
Give us game 5. Typhoons, they sure have other ideas, as it's a great infield option spotted by this Typhoons roster, but no opportunity to squeak in an impossible angle. As they go running home for safety, Okra with the shooting chance blocked away in the infield there by Cedric. And a quick response now for the counter. Bale up for a solo play once again. But the numbers advantage in favour of Falcons coming from the back.
Odd. And Gibbs wants a bomb. And Bale's just rotated down the central pitch. You don't see that very often. And he just was alert this time around. Is that perhaps maybe just a growth in his threes understanding, picking up through? Or is Cedric just calling the comms and dictating the pitch almost like it's an orchestra? Will it just have its last chance, mind you, with an old-fashioned white stick here on the lactern?
Oh, Cedric's missed such a big, crucial touch for himself there, and Envy slidden underneath that reset court. Now, there's one more chance for Envy. Gids chose to stay flat-footed, firmly grounded at the back there, and it was dangerous, but the Falcons have come away walking ahead with a 2-1. Potential victory in this game if this ball does see the floor. Pop now over to the backboard, and it does look like, Danny, there is one final chance. Envy to the backboard. There is going to be a number at the back there for Falcons, but oh so close there to turn in the wrong direction.
You just sat there and thought, you know, the Falcons will tap that in 3-1, and suddenly going, oh, hold on here. Real one being kept up quite nicely here, tap it in for, 2-2. But either way of it is here, you can sit here and say both sides had a bit of a slow start. That would be a fair comment here. But it's the way they're scoring the goals here this evening, it's not. But you remember of a conversation with a fella, a coach quite recently, he said, I want to play pretty. There's some matches you can't play it. You have to play the ugliness off the pitch here. It's an old-fashioned mud bath. That's essentially what we've seen there for 2 games running. Would not surprise me in this decider if that happens in the same fashion.
Definitely so, but I think in fairness to the Falcons, a lot of the goals they've crafted have been beautiful. And just looking at the last game alone, the likes of those infield drop-downs, those plays with so much width about them, shows the quality that this Falcons side can live up to, but sometimes they're struggling to pick their mark. Gids wisely choosing to push that ball to the corner there for fear of being dunked away on the play.
That's over the head, over the crossbar though, thankfully. Sometimes you just need that ball to run your favour here, trying to wait for the boost, not happening, Envy low. And Bale's got to be careful, and why are you pushing when you know you're the only player with boost there? That was a bit of poor decision making on the Typhoon's end.
Gids waiting. There is the touch. He's going to have to pick up the remaining pieces of that puzzle. The infield ball now towards Okra. He's going to aim to push that on target first time. No power behind the shot, but there is still threat behind the units. That is the Falcons at the moment. Great clear, though, by Envy. It's going to relieve so much tension here.
Oh, that's unusual. He will get back in time. His mechanics will be massively useful here, especially with the sort of the speed recovery of the game here. Okra, no boost. And no secondary touch here should be left, but Cedric goes alone, and that's essentially an indication here. You know, they're playing too safe now.
Back to basics, Danny, certainly so. Cedric scarpers across to cut across and get that touch that he so desperately needed. Envy's going to drop this ball down, but on no boost. Has to just rotate back, get behind Cedric for the counter-attack. And Falcons have made the most, dare I say, of every single chance that the Typhoons have presented themselves, extending a little too far. And I just wonder whether it could harm them here in the final game of the series.
Well, it's back like season one, it was at some stage a game in defence and attack, and it's no surprise that the Typhoons, or history, their legacy, their DNA is essentially trying to find those opportunities. They've done very well to create, but can the Falcons destroy essentially the hope? Well, they have to find something magical, as Envy, mind you, has put that one where no keeper can lay a glove to.
And quite frankly, that's not even a shooting opportunity. That's a chance to set something up, or maybe serve yourself some dinner for later. Envy, every single time he's had a look at net, he's just gone straight for it. That one was unsavable.
Unfortunately, from even that kickoff, it was a triple commit by the British Army. They've got to be careful. They've conceded, and you're at your most vulnerable when you have scored or have let one in here. Whether you have a Calder or a Gurner, not the time to lock up shot either here for the Typhoons. They've just got to keep the rotations on point.
Falcons prodding, just hoping there's going to be something to unfold in this Typhoons defence. It wouldn't be inaccurate to assume that mistakes do happen on this Typhoons defence. So maybe they just need to get something away the simple, old-fashioned way, as you say, Danny, but that ball straight back to their defence.
There's nothing wrong with the old-fashioned way. Reason why it still is around here, Sego.
Well, I'll tell you who is still around. Oh my goodness, Envy. Why, oh why, are you in this position? He's seen something that, quite frankly, I have not. And he has propelled his team to a heavy advantage here.
I'll tell you what you didn't see. It was the Beal roll, essentially, that forces a two-man jump. They're giving away their sort of point when they were going to attack the ball, trying to send it away here. It's a freebie, and Gidge once again with the pass and play. We have a series, we had a game on our hands, we thought it was gone. Not yet.
Rookie mistake there by the player I've been praising all series long. And it's Envy who's let slip of such a heavy infield touch off his own backboard. And he could have done with just shoving it in the corner and, well, reading the ball a bedtime story there.
Any preference on the bedtime story?
I've not thought that hard, and it's been a long time since I had one of those, Daddy. Maybe you know better than I do.
Well, I could give you a few here, but unfortunately I don't think the Typhoons would like that idea so soon.
Still plenty of time left. Falcons. You can see them shaping up for another counter-attack. Pod infield. Gids chasing. No contact found on that crucial 50-50. And Cedric waltzes towards net. Maybe could have been a goal. Maybe should have been a goal. But they're just going to be happy to be a goal ahead.
For the time being, that's an awkward and horrible first touch. And unfortunately, the British Army has let the front door wide open. And unfortunately, they've been burgled of an opportunity of a semi-final.
And look who it is, knocking on the door. And then breaching with force. 3-1. To the ever-improving RAF Typhoons roster. Albeit the new roster that they're bringing to the table late on in this BFBS Pro League split. And we assume it will be the one to see it through to its conclusion. The Typhoons with 10 seconds left, smiling. Like we said, Danny, massive, massive victory on the board for them. And I'm sure all the RAF supporters behind them are going to be laughing.
Well, it may be, but they know it was a hard-fought victory. It wasn't as clean and easy as they may have once thought. That this is unfortunately one of those series that you look at and sort of go, it's the El Clasico for a reason. What more do you want? Nothing more to add.
Oh, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable that the Typhoons just seemingly make it work through the thick of it. And if we compare what was a 3-2 reverse sweep scoreline against the Nighthawks versus a performance like that, it is surely a stark contrast. And of course, we didn't get a chance to catch those games, Danny, but we wouldn't need to understand that the Typhoons must have made some massive changes to their play today.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, if you sit there when, sat there and essentially was about 2 minutes away from being eliminated, you had to do something. You couldn't have sat there and rely on, just the way you were going. But, that's experience. That's what champions are about, Seiko. We know it far too well, and we've seen it over the years, what it takes. And you know what? Cedric and Envy, they wouldn't be happy with that. And you know what? They probably still wouldn't be happy with this performance because they want more. They're greedy for more.
They definitely are, but as we see our way through to that semi-finals, it's going to be tensions a brew yet again. I think there's absolutely something to fear for the RAF Typhoons because, of course, you've got the British Army Esports Buzzards and the SEA Dragons eyeing you down. And Storm Shadows, I believe, making it through to that next stage, Danny. But as the games sort of unfold for those semi-finals, we'll be preparing the matches, getting ourselves ready, and we will see you after this short break.
6-0.
Welcome back, everybody, to the BFBS Pro League main event number 3. You join us here in the semi-finals now of the playoffs stage. And we've seen the RAF Typhoons recover from what was a weak start to today's affairs with a very strong performance up against the Falcons. And we've talked about the nature of this roster and how it's changed over time and the dynamics it brings to the table. But now they've got an incredibly tough opposition in front of them. None other than the 2-time finalists in the SEA Dragons, Danny.
Well, it's going to be a horrible sort of situation to be in, and let's not forget it's grand finals or semi-finals last time around in the respective lineups. So it's a roster that is essentially brimming with everything that you would suggest here. That is just a team of quality. Where you have a side here that it has not been the same story from last season. New man comes in the form of Bale, and you sit there and talk about what's this matchup's going to be. Really, in terms of the RAF Storm Shadows, I would sit here and say it's a shot of nothing. You don't have to pressure yourself because you're not expected to win here.
You're absolutely right, and I think ever since the early season, they maybe had that pressure riding on their shoulders to sort of deliver the performances we know they're capable of, and they've overcome these trials and tribulations, and now they're at a point where they look at the SEA Dragons and they think, yeah, we'll probably be beaten out for this one, but here they are in the semi-finals, and I think looking potentially the strongest I've seen from them all season long, Danny.
Well, it has been. I mean, you can't sit there and sort of disagree in terms of what they've been able to produce. It has been a decent sort of level found here, but And sure, this stage of the competition cycle, I always sit here and say it's that next step, it's that next gear, and you have to sit there and you find out what it is. And it's unfortunately, you got to play these matches to understand what it is.
Absolutely. And, well, unfortunately for the Typhoons, when they found themselves in this situation before here in the semi-finals, it's not gone their way. But the SEA Dragons are already well and truly licking their lips, eyeing up, not a custard cream like I was just before the broadcast got underway, but a finalist spot in playoffs number 3. And I do believe teams almost ready, as Ed, I believe, struggling to join. So we'll give him a moment or two, just for him.
Certainly with that there, and I'm just enjoying what the player starting the way here. Just for context as well, the SES Dragons has their own broadcaster, as well as casters streaming their particular commentary. If you don't like ours for any particular reason, they're doing a fantastic job. They actually done qualified 2 in their particular moment and covered that final goal, which was, amazing listening to the expression, the joy, and then such a heartache at the same time, to such a way, nice to hear the team stream experience where you have that, shall we say, why you should care, to say where we have to some degree be neutral, basic, boring at times, but let's just say we're not shy of an opinion either at times.
Absolutely not. But yes, a massive thank you to everyone behind the scenes from the SEA Dragons for putting so much love, quite frankly, into their team and spurring them on to greatness. And they are, at this point, almost mathematically qualified for that BFBS Pro League Grand Finals. And their manager behind the scenes was telling me, oh, are we qualified just yet? And I had to remind him, it's not done just yet, but for a team of their quality, it's almost written in the stars already.
There's always going to be no doubt on that sort of element of it's really more a question about seeding for them. Whether it's going to be first, second, or is there going to be that upset and it requires the likes of the Storm Shadows, who is playing the other semi-final. But their opposition here is within the top 4, and one good result here is just enough to cause question marks.
Rightly put a pause on that one. Cedric with the first goal. Mr. Spud a little bit shy at the back there, and Cedric, well, he's no stranger to launching himself at shooting opportunities.
Apparently not. And it was almost sat there and lost their tenacity a wee bit when they were playing the Falcons. But this time around, they're playing, familiar foes in the form of Lion and Ritchie. It's that sort of question of what Mr. Spud could do here. And, arguably, you can sit here and say he's probably one of the best players, if not the best. I think Bluey might have an argument, mind you, but he's up there in that terms of quality debate.
Yeah, he's an incredible player, and he's not spoken enough about him. I'll be honest with you, Danny, behind the scenes, both of us look at the SEA Dragons and think, should we cover their matches? And we just think time and time again, well, they're going to win, and they're going to win it heavily. In these semi-finals and these grand finals, they can be tested, and have been, especially by the likes of the Buzzards. The Typhoons, dare I say, this is the time to make them worry.
Certainly is, and it's also the time where, teams who are thinking they're already qualified, you can get lackadaisical and start cutting the mistakes out, and the sort of the Typhoons are essentially hoping for that, and that's a good idea by Bale, trying to get for the bump and demo play, but that's the element here that both sides are going to find different here, and hard as well to adjust. How can you calm the emotions in this type of environment?
One player very calm in terms of his approach on the pitches, Lion, who we saw from Resurgence almost 1 year ago now. It's a great shot towards net. But one thing the SEA Dragons do sort of pride themselves on, I believe, is just how they firmly wait and they sit and they choose their moments. That being a prime example.
Certainly so, and you don't even need to tell me, because on a personal level, Owen, I sat there and coached the two gentlemen myself for a period of time, so I know how well they are, their preparation and everything that can go into their, shall we say,
the outright ability to dominate games because they know what they expect, they know the level, it's just doing it.
Doing it. Almost done. 2 minutes 30 now, and they've got the lead. Envy flailing at the back, clawing with hopes and dreams of finding himself back on that backboard so that he can be ready for round 2 of the shooting onslaught. Not good enough that time around. Mr. Spud for the quick follow-up as well, and they've got the pressure off kickoff too.
Really surprised me here, if the Dragons essentially decide to overpower and overstimulate the defense here. And I don't sit there and blame, and some would say this is an unfair comment here, but you would deliberately be picking on the likes of Bill, who is new to the roster, because you sit there and think he's going to be the weak link here. And so far the SE Dragons have done it consistently enough here, where I think Envy and Cedric might have to adapt the game plan a bit.
Oh, Envy is so close to perfection. And how he's not come away with that reset is criminal. And I feel bad for him. Excellent solo play vent downfield, and he was supported on both flanks as well. Ed tries to do the same coming out of defense there. A riskier part of the field to be opting for those resets. It's a good infield ball. And Typhoon's warming up to the occasion.
No boost there. And unfortunately, it's a full retreat here. Very well on the RAF's side of the pitch here, and I nearly beaten here, Cedric. Leading off the pitch here by the Spud himself here. That one's just been mashed on target, and a good respawn, good awareness. And Envy once again forced into 50 here. And at some point here, the RAF's got to consider not to lob the ball as heavy as they have done, because it's just being outread here.
Good idea for the soft touch. Bale up high to the backboard. It's so awkward. And Cedric has a chance. Spud, as ever, planted, ready for the opportunity, and the SEA Dragons have found freedom at the halfway mark. There goes a pre-jumping Bale. Very antsy to get back involved, and I think maybe a little bit too much on that touch from Envy.
Option. Ritzy's the one in the pitch here. Heavy touch by him. Through the Spud pass, not ideal here, and that's a loose ball here. An infield pass and play a bit behind and not direct enough here, so it loose here. Both sides have opportunities, and it will be Envy, potentially for the last play at the RAF here.
Onto the backboard, Envy lying in wake. He's come away with a strong 50-50, but it's infield, and Ritzy, with so much pace, power, and precision on that first touch. And look at how he's danced around that ball.
I mean, we sat here at the end of last season, and Seiko sat there and sent every sort of cast member for the LAN itself in season 1, who was the MVP in quality. There was a lengthy amount of debate on which player it should be given to. Ritzy was in the conversation for a fair bit. You can see why that type of conversation took so long.
And he loves the backboard. Absolutely loves the open space and those quick, snappy plays on a whim. Courtesy of all the hard work in the positioning game that comes before it, and it just elevates this SEA roster at times beyond any other team in the competition. The way they can organize themselves structurally to make sure that those opportunities just keep on coming. That's one game to their advantage now, Danny. But Typhoons, let's not forget, in the first 2 minutes, arguably looked the stronger team.
Oh, I feel like we may split hairs a wee bit on that. I think both sides weren't firing on full cylinders, and perhaps to the point here where you can look at and sit there and say, they hadn't settled in here, and the Typhoons can't afford to sit there and not do that. You can sit there and say you had a few pass and play, a few opportunities. They're at the semi-final stage. They've got here to find that level. We talked about it in the introduction to this here. It's no longer good enough to sit there and have spells of genius. You have to be consistent now.
Well, maybe they'll be eyeing up their performance against their counterparts over in that quarterfinals. Plenty of kickoff goal going on in that match. And if you wanted to catch the action, I do suggest you go and give it a look as Cedric takes to the plate nice and early on. And it is potentially a kickoff goal, the direction of SEA Dragons. Bale with a very, very quick save.
You just need to settle down here. Here at the RAF Typhoons, a few jumps here and there, one on the backboard. Beale's already driving backwards and line. Not necessarily making the connection here, and just like that there, you know, if it goes 1-0 down here, then you have the question marks here as Cedric. You know, it's all right getting the touch, but the problem is when you keep moving the ball forward, you have the awkwardness of it.
And unfortunately, Danny, I've screwed my nose up at this one, and it's a big mistake from Envy. He was in two minds, and he knew that if he dares cross that halfway point, he's past a point of no return. And that is the punishment.
There used to be that sort of old way of being coached as well, in terms of, you know, how far you can be clearing the ball as the distance away you should be as the third man. The fact that they didn't know who the third man between Envy and Beale was is arguably more criminal there.
Yeah, I think Envy knew his position there, and he just got it slightly wrong as to whether he can outright beat the man on the ball. As Cedric tries to find the ball infield, Ritzy and Spud all really tight together into that corner. And they're no strangers to close follow-ups, but they do like to play that 50. And often it does reap them many a reward. Cedric in field, a great bit of speed. Over to the backboard, and it's got rid of two defenders. What can they produce now?
That's straight down, and unfortunately Beale's read the idea and tried to execute for it, not getting the finishing product, Envy. And this is the problem with the RAF playbook. You can't afford to sit there and play the second and third consecutively after the same phase of play, because you're just going to be read. The Sea Dragons have done that now twice here to them. Now, once again, ball's right in the prime position, and they cannot get that quality in the box here.
Absolutely right by how this Typhoons roster just loves to commit, even if they're empty in that second, third man position. Leaves quite the counter-attacking opportunity. Ritzy now in field across the length of the net. 100 boost gathered by Spud. And he's going to be in prime position to play that ball.
Cedric is going to be careful, double commit. Envy will have an option, and unfortunately makes it, misses it, whatever way you may want to look at it. Possession still with the RAF until that loose ball here, and you have to give credit here to the SC Dragons. They've positionally dominated the pitch here to the point here that's forcing these very, I would say, arguably basic mistakes here, but it's just at the level of the way they're playing here.
Definitely, but Typhoons should have scored. And they've had quite an open look at net already. Great bump attempt by Bale, or Envy rather. Bale's going to play that touch backwards. Envy with so much time to kill, but it's a scary place to be when you've got no boost.
Well, smartly though, allowing his sort of teammates to get back and tame Cedric with 100 boost since that. And again, they've got on to the counters. The first time they've adjusted here to the Sea Dragons' way of encountering it.
Lovely attempts at the double flip reset by Ed. And he loves to play that sort of flashy game. If there was a time to draw out the defenders with a flip reset, it was probably there when he had so much time to play with off the wall. Tips the ball infield towards line. It's easy pickings as he opts high. Dunked away by Envy. He needs another. It's dangerous for Bale. Tips it to the side. Cedric for the counter. Lovely touch above that last defender. And Envy's there to push the ball goal bound. But Ritzy has delivered probably save of the tournament.
You'll be sitting there spitting teeth out, but they can unfortunately keep their eye off the ball. Still plenty of time here to get it. But was the crossing of the wires the partly of the issue? Time, unfortunately, not in the favour of the Typhoons here. The RAF, the whip up a storm downfield, Bale up. Envy now to take over. No double, that bump's critical. And Cedric threw himself. He thought that was the chance to go for. 2-0 punished on the other side. And I would say here, the second game gone to the side in blue.
It could be 2-0 the way of the Typhoons. And that's the kicker. Because the way they're playing downfield, they're setting themselves up for brilliant, brilliant opportunities. And when it doesn't quite go their way, they almost get even more eager to go for the next one. And it's that small sort of decision-making downfield where they get a little bit too eager, haunting them time and time again, Danny.
Unfortunately, they've got to find a way to change it up, or if not, they're going to be eliminated in a sweep here by the second favourites in the competition as it currently stands. Infield pass and play to Bale, should be leaving it, but he goes for it. He's hungry enough to prove himself on the centre stage here, and Cedric trying to do what we saw what the likes of Simplebone and Tyler done earlier here in the round of 8.
Time for the 50-50. He's won it. And look how close Ritzy is behind. He's eaten up that 50-50, but Envy's shown some brilliance. It's not going to be enough, though. The infield ball towards Cedric goes by the wayside. And SCA Dragons, they've played a defensive game. They have done for the best part of the last 5 minutes of play, Danny. But it's working for them. They're happy to absorb the pressure, play on the counter-attack, and just... it's that comfort about them that's scary.
I was going to say something probably arguably daft. I don't feel like they're playing as a defensive game. They are, but it's just such a way here where it feels it's more proactively sitting back and allowing the Typhoons to make the mistake because they know the ball's going to be thrown at them. So it's worked so well here where you're being blinded by the opportunities that the Typhoons is having in terms of numbers. But if even you sit there and have that as a conversation, the Sea Dragons have outshot them.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the shooting department, that can, you know, be classed as one long hoof downfield to relieve some pressure in some instances. Maybe even a lob to the backboard, it might still register. And for the SEA Dragons, I don't think they came away with that game having too many meaningful opportunities. And that's a small concern for me, especially when they're against a Typhoons side, which I think could have come away from that game smiling with 3, potentially even 4 goals, courtesy of the nature of how they were crafting those chances. It's just the finishing touch that's missing, Danny. That's the painful part if you're an RAF supporter.
It is, but I would sit there and somewhat look at the sort of the overall arc of the pitch itself here is why you're in those situations, why haven't you taken it? And suddenly the other bit of it is why you're allowing the counter-attacking play in the first place. The fact is the first goal came from an MB pushing up, you know, when he shouldn't have. If you didn't do that at the start of it, you could have been sitting there talking about a completely different game, and that's the cruelty sometimes of it.
It's the small moments, isn't it? And these players, they are plenty good enough to understand when they make those small mistakes, and plenty good enough to know when they are shining brightest as players. Cedric, we've seen his eagerness in front of net tonight. He's hungry for more. Every single time that ball is laid in front of him, he wants a piece of the pie, and he's playing for it first time every time. Could well score him a couple more towards the tail end of this series.
Cedric over the Bale. No goal, but that's a double commit. The brief bit off it, but once again, the sort of the speed of the recovery as Bale will take a shot here to the reaching end of the back wall, and once again, you just have to sit there sort of going, if you know you can't get a shot or a meaningful follow through, you know, is it worth even taking the shot? And that's the difference here.
Good infield ball, and it's beaten one by Ritzy. Good follow through from Envy. It's going to spill so much presence downfield for SEA Dragons. Ritzy with a very cheeky touch backwards. Tries to sift the ball all the way back to that deep reaching third man as Lion infield towards Spud. That one to the crossbar, and Envy's going to get there first to keep that scoreline firmly 0-0.
We had the double. Nearly could have released his teammate as well too, and the lack of boost here is playing, unfortunately, a cruel game here. Once again popped up to the middle, no follow through. And Ritzy, you know, has been consistent. I would arguably sit here and say Mr. Spud's been the major man, the focal point of the team in terms of getting that ball recycled back against the Typhoons here this evening.
That very player demoed away for his troubles as he tried to spill the ball infield away from the chance of the dunk. Great finish from Ed. Strikes when he needs to strike most. They've had one reverse sweep today. They might be hungry for another.
Some shot. Just sitting back and watching the replay and once more again, and you just look at that just in terms of it, and, you know, for Lion, he may be disappointed on that one, but he'd be sort of shrugging it off at the same time and sort of going, it's only one goal, but it's what it will do to the RAF tempo here.
Almost a dunk from Envy. Maybe chooses to bail out courtesy of the comms coming through. Envy with the fake! And he tips it up with a little dash forwards. Brilliantly placed, but the SEA Dragons do not put a foot wrong with that third man.
It's going to have to be the case here for them until they can find an equalising goal. And then the second, easy mind you to say it, that's over Envy. And Ritzy and Spud's arguing who wants it. And unfortunately, it's Mr. Spud who gets it first.
Mr. Spud has mashed that ball straight from the corner. And he's pressed all the chunks through the colander for good measure, strained it all out. And that's a smooth, brutal finish.
Don't know if you have it, but, you know, champ, that's essentially that was.
I have no idea what champ is, Danny, but I'll be doing my homework.
It's essentially spring onion with mashed potato. You do it with a bit of milk and through the colander as well, make it nice and fluffy to start with. Mostly an Irish recipe. Anyway, Simple Bob would know about it.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be a future podcast episode to come. Maybe we'll have him on. Maybe that'll be the first question we ask him. Who knows? But there's more to the rest of this meal that the SEA Dragons are trying to serve up. They've had the side. They've had the starter. They're ready already for dessert, seemingly. It's 1-1. The tempo completely in their favour, just as we said the Typhoons maybe had a look at it themselves.
Perhaps, yeah, there's not too much where you have to sit here and analyse the game from a player's point of view. Just get on with the moment in front of it, and then be forced again and somewhat actively making that sort of consistent third-man challenge, arguably when he doesn't need to. About 60 seconds still approaching here. Bales launched that one, and he's a vital bump here. Problem is too tight to the wall, can't do much with it. And again and again and again, the Typhoons, it's our sort of second and third man rotation, far too much at the width used up, and they cannot follow each other here.
Brilliant dunk from Mr. Spud. Envy low boost, trapped at the back with a one heck of a hoof downfield, lying in field. Tips it high. Dropped down in front of net. Bale with no contact there, but the attackers didn't believe it either.
I think anybody did. Cedric's just decided to go with an old-fashioned hoof downfield, catches it, and nobody once again able to assist the play itself. That one won't go in, has been covered, and Envy, could he be tricky? Well, Mr. Spud's not too pleased, but Bale this time thumps in the goal, and the young man finally steps up.
Nicely positioned, deep in the midfield territory. Bale has the pace in his favour, has the angle on the shot, and stuffs it away at that far post. And let's not forget the individual quality from Envy that gave the defender no choice but to spill that ball in field. He's always the player you've got to watch for.
Certainly, but will it be sort of like curdled milk here? Good catch, popped up, and it is on target, has been sent away the first time. Ritzy drops it, and he tried to get a soft, delicate touch over to the man that is lying, sitting awaits. It will not be a quick, short series here. We do find an extra game here.
And again, I'm almost thinking, just looking at the nature of the opportunities, deservedly so. Typhoons, when they get downfield, they have so much pressure. And SEA Dragons, they were rewarded for trying to absorb it in the last game, albeit they had some chances which very well could have gone against them. But what I want to see from them is just a little bit more downfield presence, because it's a one-man army to try and clear these balls at the moment from SEA Dragons. Positionally, they're absorbing the pressure very well, but they're not transitioning quite as snappily as they could in game one, Danny. That's a worry for me.
And you know what? They've got a coach, a manager, all sitting there ready and waiting, and the ability to give that advice. The players themselves will probably sense it. It's recognizing and understanding what to do with it. That's now the question for them. And you know what? For once here, I'm going to keep my big mouth somewhat closed here and let them decide what the solution is.
That goal Well, that shot on goal, rather, tempting by Envy. Bale to try and sift the ball infield. It's not a pleasant touch by Line, but he does have numbers behind him in support. Mr. Spud at that far post with a brilliant touch downfield to his teammate. Eager challenge from Typhoons, yet again by Envy, who's sniffing up the advantage. And Mr. Spud has just let the ball dribble over his front hood. Oh, painful one to concede.
Well, the lights go out. Don't play hungry hippos with Envy. That's what I found out there. Gobbles that chance up nicely. And it's, again, all through the mistakes here. What is such a key point, and you were alluding to maybe potentially what the Sea Dragons may do. Ritzy actually sat back. They're going a bit more deeper, arguably with a two-man sort of line defence to have that ball whipped across here for quick attack and release. Problem is, slow start, slow movement, and Cedric gets the second goal to punish it.
3 blue players at the back and 1 Ed. I know which one I'd rather take right now because Ed is playing a nuisance downfield.
How often has that been said over the years?
Time and time again, I'll have you know, Danny. I mean, Cedric, when he has these high pressure moments, there's something about him that just clicks, and I feel like he needs the tension to be high. He needs the stakes to be high to show what he really can be.
Stakes just got higher after just conceding that one by Mr. Spud himself. And that was from a kick-off goal, and the RAF might need a training pack over 2 because so far we've seen 3 of their teams this evening consistently dropping loose balls where they probably shouldn't have been. And Bale's got a demo, but no recovery back. It's a fort. And once again, it's a self-sabotage.
Maybe so, but Bale had no boost and the demo was hunting. Envy arguably could have taken a quicker path back down central to help cut away that danger. But SEA Dragons, it's optimistic from them to be looking for those aggressive plays. That disruption downfield that we know they can deliver. It's good to see a change of pace from them.
Well, both sides had their fun. Now it's the business end of the game. What is going to be that moment? Cedric will just get a touch here. Envy's just dropped back here. No boost really to play too much of it because he's expelled it so much and so quickly. And Bale's going for these heroic plays and it's cost his team there.
3-2 the score. We're looking at the start of this game with optimism. Was a reverse sweep truly on the cards? Well, they got 3 minutes to decide that fate.
Plenty of time for it. Mr. Spud's up here to cast the die and the double not on. Ritzy to continue. He's still on it. High, mind you. Kept above the woodwork. Envy sets up Bale. He's unleashed the man. And unfortunately cannot send it home. Cedric had a go on the 3rd attempt because Envy was blocked on the 2nd. It's just amazing. Bang, bang. And unfortunately no sink on the end of it.
The absolute audacity to keep these shots coming through with next to no resources nor support if everything goes wrong. It's almost as if every 50-50 they go into, they expect nothing but a win. And it could give them a great chance. They're battling back into this game. That's an open shot from Mr. Spud. Bale, so close to seeing it clear, but what a little play to himself there by the newcomer in this competition, Mr. Spud, and arguably the one with the highest impact of the entire tournament.
Well, we could sit here and look at the impact. Unfortunately, the man that has replaced the 2 times champion in the service, Bale, needs to find a moment. So does Envy, so does Cedric for the remaining 2 minutes here. If they want a final chance at the moment, probably against the Buzzards. But again, another save comes out by them. Another 50, as you sat there said, they expect to win them at this point. And so far, you can't blame them because they have been.
That's infield, that's a shot!
Why is it always him? The thorn on SCA Dragon's side. And the backboard defense from Lion, again trying to soak it all up, but 113 is going to pierce through that gap.
And just when you need that little bit of hope, great demo. Oh, it's responded in kind. Lion did not take that one kindly. Teammate revenged. There's a bit of carnage at the centre of the pitch here. Thankfully, no divots to worry about. But a sprinkling here of chances. That's all what the Typhoons want here.
Bale. No, it's not a threat. Lion knows it. And that ball's down. Cedric with a great 50. Ritzy with time to continue the play infield as he marches high towards the ceiling. Clear ball away by Bale now. It's a nice bit of indirect play just to push it to space. Ritzy extended out. Here comes Envy for the air dribble. No solid contact here, and that's got to be a dunk. Bump is going to see through the SCA Dragons to some comfortability.
Well, good leave. Was called off at no chances. Lion with low boot. It needs to be a soft touch for her follow. Ritzy will lap that one up every day of the week. The double should be on. It's not here, and Lion's just playing awkward here. Envy. It's up. Bill gone. Cedric with 100 boost now. He's got to make something out of nothing. And Lion's being essentially bumped by Bill. I think that's a waste of a play, but they've decided that's how they want to go in the last 20 seconds.
No time left against arguably the best defense in the competition. Lion sat back, waiting, chooses his time to strike. It's a nice filtered ball infield. Cedric just clawing at any remaining hope of getting their way to game 5. It's going to have to be a cross-field effort from the one man who probably could do exactly that. Envy underneath with the flip reset, and Cedric in hot pursuit needs to keep this ball alive in the corner as the flick goes high. Mr. Spud struggling for a heavy clearance. That ball surely is going to see the floor. And the SCA Dragons, 2-time finalists, twice defeated, twice upset, and hungry to make that change here in playoffs number 3.
Certainly is. We normally don't see the semi-final match of what they normally produce here, but you can just sense here they have a chip on the shoulder to prove against, presumably here, the British Bulldogs in terms of what they can do. His question is, can they finally get it? They were very much close last week or time to do it, but Seiko, close isn't good enough. They have to do it this time around.
Definitely so. And results through in the other semi-finals, Danny. And I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look, but it is as follows. In Game 1, Storm Shadows 1-0 to Buzzards. Game 2, 3 to the Buzzards. Storm Shadows 0. Game 3, Buzzards winning again by a single goal. And then in Game 4, 3-2 as well. So that looks like a remarkably close series between the Storm Shadows and the Buzzards. And I'm sure there's a lot more than meets the eye when it comes to just the scorecards. And Buzzards, we know they're a threat. But what that importantly proves is it's not just the SCA Dragons that can bleed here today.
Well, it has been a story where you're just wondering when our game's going to be dropped. It has been throughout this evening here. You know, even in the upper side of the bracket here, we had saw the British Army's derby essentially caused that factor. But again, it's no point in sitting here talking about, you know, if buts, maybes here. It's a best of 5 that decided all here, Psycho. It's just who can keep their nerves here at the most important match of the competition.
Maybe 3 times a charm for the SCA Dragons, and they've got plenty of support behind them to make it happen. But will it happen? All remains to be seen on the pitch, and we'll be bringing that action to you shortly after this break.
I'm Dan Penter.
My name is Mark Langton.
I'm Peter.
My name is Staff Sergeant Richie Reese. My gamer tag is Chief Lid.
Gamer tag is Pete P Gaming.
My gamer tag I play under is SG_Reaper.
My gamer tag is Max Chat. I think the thing I'm looking forward to most as part of the UVG is actually meeting new people. There's a lot of veterans out there who haven't been connected to gaming.
Meeting fellow veterans and playing with fellow veterans, that's what I'm looking forward to do.
So just staying part of a community. So when I was in the RAF, I was part of the RAF esports, so we did a few meetups during that. I'm looking forward to keeping that going with the veterans and expanding it, talking to the other services, which I didn't really do too much of.
We've started with a core of about 60 people that some of us knew, and as it grows every week, new people turn up, and I love meeting new people and getting to know them and gaming with them.
The thing with veterans is we understand each other.
I'm looking forward to being part of UVG because for me, as a still serving in the British Army at the moment, is setting that stepping stone for individuals who do eventually leave the services, and looking forward to what UVG can offer them as a gamer, if they are a gamer, or even if they're not a gamer. It's just the community that is offered to them from UVG, where, you know, as a serving soldier who, you know, taking that transition into civilian street is quite hard. So for them, having that community where you've got ex-servicemen, ex-service women, for them, they can then look at those communities, and it'll be hopefully make that transition easier for them.
I think the biggest thing that UVG will do for the veterans gaming community is to connect veterans through gaming.
Speaking with other veterans, that's the main thing veterans need to speak. We have a very thing that I am the big man and I can handle it, but we speak to each other. That's going to help our mental health.
See, I think UVG can offer a lot for veteran gamers.
But it's going to bring a lot of people who haven't really got that online social aspect. Through a lot of mental health stuff I've been through and done, and I think that's going to be a massive thing for a lot of people who don't have no one to talk to.
It's not just all about bringing gamers together, it's the events that can go on. They can bring a lot of the veteran community together, which gives them opportunity not just to sit in their homes, they can come out, meet each other, you know, put a face to a name.
Finding this group of people who can understand what they've gone through, understand how they talk, is going to be a massive thing.
For anyone wanting to get involved in UVG, you can find us on Discord, UK Veterans GG, and if you look on any other social media, we're there on UK Veterans GG, be that TikTok or Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, we're there, and our links to Discord are in all those channels as well.
Hey yo, 6-0. And I throw it all away. I kept holding on, but now that it's too late, I got nowhere else to run.
For the two-time champions in the BFBS Pro League Season 2 playoffs stages, the British Army Esports Buzzards are absolutely no stranger to getting it done in the nitty-gritty stages of competition, Danny. But the SEA Dragons, their counterpart in the finals here, we followed through the semi-finals and their victory against the Typhoons. It was a bitterly close match compared to what some may have argued it should have been. But the Buzzards we've not seen all day long, and we know the quality they can bring to the table, Danny.
It's scary when we talk about quality, and arguably they're the reason they're the number one side outright here at the BFBS. And it's the fact is that how consistent they are in terms of producing chances. But the issue of it, saying something as strongly stated with that, we have seen them occasionally falter in moments. And you just have to look at the last grand final. We've seen up these two here, because let's not forget here, their opposition did lead in that grand final and arguably had a chance to win it.
Twice did the SEA Dragons have a chance to win it, and twice did they go to Game 5. Last time around, we had a playoff, Stanley, and playoff 2 grand finals. It was one goal that separated the two teams. In the dire depths of overtime, Buzzards had to do almost the impossible, which was to come out on top in that series. And they are, at this point, pretty much mathematically qualified into that BFBS Pro League Grand Final towards the end of September. SEA Dragons absolutely in the question as well. But this is a matchup to decide the future of where these two teams go in their short-lived legacy against each other. Of course, they've only ever fought in grand finals before, Danny. That's 2 opportunities to get to know one another on a grand stage such as this. So why don't we let the players do the talking for the 3rd attempt at this series?
You know what? At some stage here, you might just have to sit there and say, at what stage do you get fed up with a trilogy? Do we have maybe a 4 times repeat here of this here for the next qualifier?
Oh, surely not. Surely not. The SEA Dragons, quite frankly, have looked unstoppable when they play their finest. And quite frankly, when they've beaten Buzzards before, they've beaten them well and proper. And we've looked at the players like Mr. Spuds potentially as being the new player of the tournament potentially coming into this season. And I couldn't agree with you more. And what he's delivered on the pitch has been nothing short of a champion's game, should we say. Lion and Ritzy, the 2 returning faces from Resurgence last year. Of course, 2 players you're very familiar with through your experience coaching them as well. They have such a hunger in these moments to pull it out the bag. Do you think this could be the time for them, Danny?
Well, it certainly is here. You know, it could be potentially the case of when that is, but it's one of those situations where I try not to sit here and over-analyze the game, because the problem is when you sit there and sort of go, well, I've coached these, I know what they should be doing, and you get this ability to maybe read too much into the game. And I don't mean that in a bad sense, because you're just trying to willing one side more than the other. Tonight here, I just want to be a neutral. And it's hard to sit there and say that.
No, I'm absolutely with you. And of course, the British Army players as well on the pitch, the likes of Onza. I'm no stranger to being in a VC with him. And, you know, trying to help them out long before the season started. Looking back at the tail end of last year, even, Danny, I was being approached for a little bit of tips here and there. And of course, we're so familiar with these players in the competition now. We know every inch of their play and their approach and their mentality and how they want to play the game, how they want to get it done. Now, the British Army Esports Buzzards, I think even though they've won the last 2 affairs, they know deep down it could have been more comfortable for them. And they're trying to set themselves up to be in that position where we waltz into the grand finals and there is 1 team on our mind, not 2 teams, 1. And that is the Buzzards.
I don't sit there and dispute that. I'm just sitting here enjoying the bit of the conversations going on while everything else is moving around here. But you know, at one stage here, you just got to sit there and say, you know, is it a conversation the number 1 side? Is it a case of number 2? You know what? I think that sort of conversation is only settled by one way, and that's playing the game outright here. I don't want to sit there and say, you know, it's the Buzzards' way of doing it, because we just had to look at last season. We did have arguably 1 side, and they were not the side to do it.
Well, we have our players ready and raring to go. British Army Esports Buzzards, during the Swiss stage, they competed with a substitute. The almighty, ever-present 1IC of Army Rocket League. Fezzi himself was on the field this time around. Onza back in his rightful place on this roster, here to do some damage tonight.
Just a question, is it going to be a stick and plaster or an open wound surgery? Where essentially the Sea Dragons on how they're going to approach this, because they've had enough time, enough experience against this lineup in terms of how to adjust mid-match here. They look a tad bit sluggish in certain ways, but an excellent save off the line here, but a ripper by SEA Dragons to show them they've got content. It's just, can they have the venom to actually match the poison?
There was certainly venom on that shot, wasn't there? Onza has somehow clawed that out of his back net, albeit there's not even a goal on the board in these early stages.
You're complaining that that's not a goal yet.
I'll give it a second, Danny, with the with the shape of these teams at the moment, I wouldn't be too surprised as Ruck keeps this ball healthy in the corner.
Some of the people today just want goals. And sometimes a good classic 0-0. I think even boys is what you want. And a second time denial off the line. Because providing a wonderful, magical, and it's Bluey who delivers on the other side of the pitch.
It was a big mistake initially from Bluey, who just whizzed on by, but he's downfield, pre-positioned for the counter-attack. It's a clinical finish as well.
You have to sit there and say that, you know, all the spotlight probably for the majority of the season's been on Bluey, but also, you know, what he's produced there in those moments has been certainly the difference between the two sides.
Tipped up high, the ball falling into that back corner, of which Ruck has managed to claim that 100 boost. Keep those engines revving high. Soft touch from Lion turned into very heavy touch in field. Spud, the recipient of a shot, and it's drawn out. Two defenders. Bluey pre-jumping at the back alongside his compatriot. They thought that was in first time.
I don't know why they thought that, and I also don't know why he had the double jump in the first place. But either way off it, that's unfortunately instinct in the moment, and it just shows them that they haven't actually got themselves to the tempo of the pitch here.
I think they had high expectations there, didn't they, of the SEA Dragons, and that might be a reminder just to calm down, settle yourself in these early stages, as Bluey tries to do it solo down the field.
And of course, it gets demoed for his troubles, and it's once again the man himself, Mr. MVP Bluey, trying to do the difference maker here. He's just been a nuisance. He's went from both corner boosts in the last, give or take 7 seconds, was a lengthy amount of time, but not a save for this time, and a 2-1 lead for the Dragons.
Brilliant play by Lion, wasn't it? And Mr. Spud had no boost, but he thought, yeah, Lion seems in control of this. I'm going to walk up and support my man downfield. Look at that for a response.
Joey, I feel bad for Ozzy because he didn't put a foot wrong until that moment.
Picture perfect game, hasn't it? Up until that moment, and you know, we have to remind everyone of those 2 bailout saves early on. Here comes Onza for that double touch chance. Mr. Spud ready for it. Simple touch to the side.
Slow, boys, a bit of movement. Lee has enough of it, and Ritzy's awkward, and it should be a shot to nothing here. This one left over, and that's a poor play. That needed to have been put on target. They try to fake it and try to essentially shake and bake. No point in doing it where you do not have the quality of the boost tank to simply there absorb everything from it, because everybody was empty.
Louis, with plenty of boost in the tank, tries to do it all by himself, and he's got support behind him with 100 apiece. As Ruck's going to let the ball go. Arguably pressed a little high there for his own liking. Bluey now for the crossfield air dribble. Catches that foot reset underneath and gets the dunk on the second man. There's 2 defenders gone, and Ruck for the shot on target, but it's weak, and it's straight down the heart of that.
The old expression, it's weak as water. So unfortunately, the clarity of who's going to win this, unfortunately, almost like mud at times, hard to work out and hard to see here. The ball has unfortunately travelled about 2 bus lengths there, laterally across the pitch there. Spud gone, Lion covers. And once again here, now the quick transition here, and he's been caught napping, and it has been covered this time by Bluey.
Good demo as well on Spud at the back by Ruck, just to clean up any potential disruption to come. Monza with no flip reset found, but he's done a lot of work to get the ball across to a teammate. Bluey wisely stays grounded, almost comes away with a demo off the back of it as well. But for as long as this ball's in the corner, SEA Dragons are going to be very, very happy.
Fortunately, they don't want history repeating. They conceded a goal, but it was in that decisive game just before they lost. It was a quick counter-attack, and that got them into the key moments of it. So they know what it feels like, misery, when it does occur. Rocket just unfortunately does not have the enough to get on to the end of it. Mr. Spud, one touch, a good demo here, and Liam should be thinking about really the ball in terms of a goal-scoring opportunity. Run it to the corner, he did, but there was an opportunity to bump the man, Time wasted. It's gone. The chances likewise.
That ball hits the ground. Game advantage for the hopefuls. An SEA Dragons roster coming off the back of 2 back-to-back event wins, Danny. It just looks, at this point in time, as if it might be the moment for SEA Dragons to shine and have all of the gaze of their opposition on them for the first time in this competition.
We'll just have to wait and see. I don't want to sit here and say, yes, absolutely. We've been here far too often to sit here and just even have a sense at the moment and go, oh, it's time to panic here. But, you know, you have to sit here and say there's been 2 key moments here. The Onza's double save, but you have to give credit here to Ritzy in particular. 2 defensive lines, drop back, was fully aware of it. And for both sides here, who's been trading blows in each grand final, I would argue, sit there and say this has been the best start by both sides.
It looked smooth, didn't it? It looked comfortable for both sides. And at times, it was a beautiful play because you had the likes of those, you know, beautiful team-working moments where you've got the width about the play, you've got the infield balls fired left, right, and centre, and you've got the saves and the defence to match the quality that's being provided downfield. And you get these really interesting stalemates where it's just waiting for, unfortunately, at times, a mistake to be the difference maker.
Do you know what? It's at that stage here where it is the fine margins, it is that 1% here, but you've got to be good enough to make the mistake happen.
Force the agenda. BAE's buzzards through time have certainly been the team better off in that department. It's a great infield ball towards a ruck who did have a sniff of that top left corner. Do think he could have put it away, but that was not an easy shot, Danny.
It's not. The most important bit by both sides, they haven't conceded, but much more better on the offense here by the Buzzards. And you have to, you know, credit to you. Sat there and said this in the semi-final that the Sea Dragons themselves will be, you know, arguably the best defensive team so far in the competition. They've proved that consistently here. It's just in that last moment they haven't got it. Today it seems to be just right.
Lion then. Plenty of boost. Opts to just play the ball first time high. Try and follow up his own touch off the sidewall there as his defense is going to be certainly lying in that sort of conga line formation we referenced earlier, Danny, to seep up that pressure and attack for future. Mr. Spud has done exactly that. Onza on the defense, tried to fake it away, push it towards the corner. Dragons having none of it.
Unfortunately, all 3 on the wrong side of the corner. That's what we talk about, the number side of the pitch as well, the crucial bit of it. But it's that big 1 digit on the right side of your screen that you'll be looking forward to. Spicy for the Sea Dragons, they desperately need it. Bluey trying to make something happen here, and unfortunately, it hasn't been the same wonder. There hasn't been the glint in the eye that you just sense that something's going to come here this evening.
I think it's just a moment of time, isn't it, Danny? Because as much as we expect from a player like Bluey for that wonder to emerge from almost every touch he fabricates on the pitch, you have to give even the greatest players their moment, their time to prove it. And here he comes now downfield.
Nothing. At least this time. Pierced by Bluey, mind you. Onto the net here. No second touch, really. Onza gets it, shot on target. Lion clears it.
It's an open net, is it not, for Ritzy, who's opted for the double touch. He had absolutely no idea that that net was wide open. It was for the taking. He thought surely there's a defender there. Wasn't to be. Mr. Spud for the follow-up. Bails him out there.
That's why you sometimes have to trust your teammates just in case. And Mr. Spud's cleaned it up a few times this evening. And for the first time, I think in some considerable sessions of games that we've seen between these 2 lineups here, it's a lead for the Sea Dragons, a valuable one they've got now to protect here.
Doug, the ruck chasing. He has been so much so far in this series. And Mr. Spud's the recipient of another chance as that ball gets dunked away by a ruck, and somehow we don't see a third goal emerge. Onza now. Hefty touch. Demo to follow through as well, but Sea Dragons comfortable at the minute.
Certainly. Bluey kind of find a way to extinguish comfortability on the other side of that pitch. Has unfortunately moved, and that one's just been leathered downfield. It's a free ball for Bluey. Demoed and gone here. Shouldn't be thinking about this. Shouldn't be going for it, but he is. Lion had the clean opportunity, just whip it left to a teammate or to himself, but they're still thinking of goal number 3.
Absolutely so, and I hate to point it out, but Aruk's looking nervous on the pitch tonight, and that's an absolute screamer from Ritzy, who does what he does best. We saw it in the semi-finals. We see it again in the grands. It's that man again.
We've seen it. Now we'll cross over the likes of 2 seasons. Resurgence, Omnia, boost over ball. From the old past, the Aria Storm Shadows, the now Typhoons. You know, they've had chances, we've seen champions, but every so often you just have a series you think, could they finally be put down here? For the first time, the British British Army Buzzards are absolutely begging what a hammering is this evening.
Soft touchdown from Onza. Punt of a 50-50 downfield. Every time the British Army esports players get the ball, they're thinking about the back of their net. They're thinking of playing it direct. And SEA Dragons, they're so well forged in the fires of these very attacks. Now the Buzzards tasked with making their change.
Just one change. I think it's going to have to be a few here, especially with our decisive in the key moments here that we have not seen through the last 2 qualifiers from the Sea Dragons. It is a different beast altogether this evening.
30 seconds left. 4 goals to the good. SEA Dragons, match point. Make it 5, actually. It's an unbelievable stomping here in game 2. As we go towards one final event to come before the online period of this competition elapses. SEA Dragons trying to have their stamp.
Certainly. You know, I'm just trying to rattle through the old history book. We have not seen a scoreline, you know, like this in a grand final by either of the 2 sides. It's been fairly close. I've seen, you know, the odd 4-2, maybe 4-3. This is the first time in any of the 3 grand finals we've seen a scoreline of a 5-0 nature.
It's a schooling. It's a message. It's a statement from the SEA Dragons, who are 1 game away. And you had the likes of even the SEA management themselves basically writing this one as if it was absolutely 100% written in the stars going to happen, this very matchup. And I think their mentality represents a team that is hungry to play this same team again. The Buzzards, on the other hand, there's something about them at the moment which is different. It looks nervous. It looks shy compared to what we've seen.
I don't disagree with you. It's not the same sort of ability to follow through onto the ball. There's no essentially trust on the second man or the galloping third player to have that ability to move the ball into a favourable position. And it shows, yes. But to some degree here, you have to sit here and brutally sit there and say the Sea Dragons has caused that in the opening game, especially from goal number 1 from the get-go.
Great pass by Mr. Spud. Lion there, ready and waiting. He didn't want that heavy touch. He wanted to keep it close, but I think that's courtesy of the power delivered in that pass that unsettled the mind a little bit there, as Onza's going to push the ball towards target. Could well have been the first massive mistake we've seen from the Dragons.
Significantly, the first goal in over 5 minutes. And it's just enough here For Bullars is to use that as essentially a stepping stone. Good pop on over. Oh, this could be deadly. This could be brilliant. That's genius.
It's a delicate touch, and it's a necessary touch to the width of the play. Bluey off angle has found a beautiful redirect touch on that double.
Well, it's just the faint bit about it. It's about less than an inch of difference between Mr. Spud from touching it or not, and yet Bluey just knew. And we talked about when you big moments and the big players have to step up, and you just have to sit there and say, where was he this evening? That could be it.
He's always been there, Danny, but rarely has he been afforded that level of space. So I think at the moment he's trying to play for that solidity on the pitch. It's nice to see him in those downfield areas where he can be oh so scary as that one teeters up and down. The crossbar favouring this British Army Esports roster. They're going to be so happy to still have momentum on their side.
Do you deny the goal scoring ability, or do you go for foundation? That's essentially the question. And once again, saved its onset. He was massive in game number 1. We haven't seen the same level being pulled out. It needs to be there as Ritzy, soft touch, air dribble, not pass on, and Bluey unleashed. Perhaps it's a poor first touch by his quality and standard of a player.
Oh, he's got a bump though online and disrupted the counter attack, and Onza's got that 1v1 chance, but he's let it drift past him. And again, maybe a smarter option to drift that ball to the corners, to the sides of the pitch, as Lion now directs yet again in front of net. And to me, that's one of the biggest warning signs of nervousness of a team. How often do they just plough that ball towards net?
I must be nervous all the time then, based on that logic.
Oh, I tell you, it's consistency and habits developed across years of nervousness, Danny. I know it far too well.
Well, it's that difference between nervousness and habit. And unfortunately, that's a cruelty of a bad third-man rotation.
Does it matter? A Ruck certainly doesn't think so. He snipes the corner. Mr. Spud with momentum across the play. Rightly pointed out, didn't get the rotation quite right there for the SEA Dragons, but ultimately the Buzzards have found their way back into a series which has gone oh so violently outside of their control. And I know, Danny, you've been saying we've not seen the likes of a 5-0 deficit before, but even just considering this very game, 2-0 looks comfortable.
Don't disagree with you, and this is the problem. And you know, our good friend and what I see over the RAF, Stelios, the top man of who reached the last chance qualifiers of the European RLCS, would sit there and talk about, you know, opportunities, chances, and communication, and all the key words here. And yet it's white line fever. Do you have the ability to send it over? The Sea Dragons have yet to do it once this campaign. We're seeing a blip here in the armor.
Reminiscent desperation from what we saw from the Typhoons in the semi-finals at the moment from the Dragons, as every ball is towards target and they're just hoping that mistake's going to come through. Field pass towards Spud now. Exploiting that space on the side. Lovely touch by Bluey over to the backboard. Well saved there by Lion to keep them in this.
Yeah, but it's maybe in vain, because you need to grab a goal and then find a quick one in quick concession here as Ritzy to the back wall. Nobody up here, and Mr. Spuds just sheepily back away there. No boost, nothing more other than probably a few sighs and aspirations, because he knows he cannot make a play here.
Oh, lovely air dribble from a Ruck. Or Wuck, as he's otherwise known. Steps back, grabs that 100 boost, and is going to see away the time on the clock. There goes a bump from Ritzy. It was unfortunate not to get a demo there, but this game done and dusted, and potentially marking some new horizons in this series. SEA Dragons looking comfortable for the first two. Beyond comfortable, they looked on top. Oh, how quickly that has changed.
Just funny, sometimes there's one game you look at and you sort of going, oh, it's relatively close final, oh, it's a hammering. But, it's a dish or what's served here. But, do you sit here and ask the question, is the 5-0 still as influential to the series, or is this 2-0 going to rub off in terms of a negative way to the Dragons? And the horrible bit of it is I don't have an answer to that question.
I don't think a 5-0 is ever a bad thing, Danny. As much as you could play the sort of psychological warfare of, should we keep this game a bit closer? In terms of the scorecards, not to make us overconfident, I don't think it exists. You just want to put the ball in the back of the net. And right now, the Army Buzzards have given themselves a new look, a new opportunity at this series. And, looking back on weeks previous, we thought SEA Dragons at times were the better team. Maybe the team deserving of the victory outright. Oh, I daren't say the same thing's going to happen today, Danny, but it jolly well might.
Well, for once, I'll be very kind. I sit here normally, as you rightly know, I would call a prediction, say it quickly, and usually 9 times out of 10, it's quite on the money. I'm not saying anything because I do not have any sort of Scooby of an idea which way this will go.
Louis then for the dunk to sustain the pressure early on, and a ruck with a quick challenge, as he has often been delivering so far in this series, just as that almost downfield cannon fodder just to launch himself at the ball and try and make sure his team can reap the results of his early pressure. As Onza, a little bit of space to play the ball here.
That's a tad unusual. Unfortunately, I think there was a wee bit of disagreement how the Sea Dragons wanted to play that just on the stutter of the run. As Lion continues, don't flip reset, he's going solo, he's going with force. Don't blame him, that's the result of it. Nearly pays dividends. And Lion Scarpers back here, and they will not concede here with an aggression attack here.
Great decision for the air dribble. And he almost made it work if it wasn't for that fantastic defense from that very man, Onza, yet again. Infield ball towards Bluey. Tipped up towards that top left, but maybe could have done with an infield ball. Onza was lying there just behind.
Well, so I was hoping for the boost grab there, and the Sea Dragons not getting it. Lion nearly demoed or bumped off the line. And Ritzy dances, prowls at the same time. He's looking at the ball with a bit of disgust there because he thought he had the full Cookshire pinch there.
High ball from a ruck straight to Bluey on his hat. And he's gone direct, read well by Ritzy. Spud. Tame approach to the play there, just trying to bait in the Army members. Make sure he can give himself a look at some pressure. That bump missed there by the Sea Dragons, and jolly well could have resulted in a goal if it came through, as Onza scrambles back to push aside.
Lion drops. That's a full pivot of a first and second man. Infield ball. Nobody's going to be there. The major bit of the 100 boost wasn't spawned, so it was a drop back, and it's not necessarily possession lost, but it's a chance squandered. And again and again and again, that's the bit, that's the weakness there that Bluey and the co will be looking for. It's essentially up to the fourth phase of play here. The Sea Dragons do not know what to do with the ball here.
Solo play from Ritzy. He knows he likes the backboard. So often is he aiming for it. Great infield pass, but no shooting angle from Lion as it's back in field. Desperately so towards a ruck, and here comes that counter. Shifted to the side. Reminiscent of that Bluey threat we saw earlier, but no finishing product.
Well, you said the key thing about it, space. And he had it that time. Fortunately, limited on the quantity, and Bluey denies it here.
Onza, heavy touch, wasted, given away to Lion. Again, the same sort of touch from Lion there as the ball sifted to the halfway point. Battle in the midfield won by Lion, but at what cost?
It's always going to be the question. Where is the risk going to come from, where they just have to reinforce the defense here? And there's only one player back here, and the SE Dragons do not have the full tank of boost to continue that play. However, they did treble commit, mind you, and unfortunately, both sides have sniffs of opportunities, half chances of that, but that's all what each of each other has afforded here.
Miss from Wuck. Bluey stapled to that back net seemingly. When those clearances come through, he wants to be the player to bring it out from the back. At least late on into this series. As Onza sifts the ball away. Great touch to follow from, but Ritzy wins it out. There's no product on that infield ball, though, sadly, for Sea Dragons. And they're back to the drawing board.
That sort of simplifies in any chances here. It's all sort of organically happening. And that's a lovely drop down, forced into the 50. Had to be, it shall be. It's Mr. Spud who reigns supreme.
Full team effort required to best that one defender. Beautiful push of the ball in field. And that 50 was sublime. There's just simply nothing you can do.
Oh, hold a second here. 2-0 would have been even better. We saw the last time around when these two met, it was a buzzer beater for denial and the chance. And it had, unfortunately, wobbled the wrong way. But for the first time, Psycho, I'll give you the pleasure and the honours.
Well, the SEA Dragons, boy, have they come close before. And it was kind of written from the very start of this series that the SEA Dragons were here to mark a turning point in their performance and the legacy left on the online portion of these qualifiers, Danny. And today, there's only one winner and a rightful winner. The SEA Dragons come out of this one with a sweep.
And you know what? You'd be sitting there looking at it, you sort of just looking at it and you sort of going, how did that happen? And you know what? And sort of that 5-0 performance was just impressive. But let's not forget here the 2-0 of the Buzzards performance here, because it was the first time they saw, oh, is there doubt going to creep on in here?
I think the doubt was always there, wasn't it, for the Buzzards, because they faced this team twice, well, 3 times after today, Danny. And increasingly so over the weeks, it's looked a bit nervous, a bit more spontaneous, and a little less rehearsed from the Buzzards. But stepping forwards to the tail end of that series, I do think there was more on the cards for them, wasn't there? You know, if that series was to go a little bit further, potentially a best of 7, potentially a best of 9, whatever it would have taken, maybe we could have seen a transformation there. But the SEA Dragons rightfully dominated that series.
And Joe, it comes at the start of it here, and you just do find rightly by the 2 saves by Onza had to produce, just seemed to deny the Sea Dragons. It was not a sort of the staple, the element of what we've seen from them. We know how good they can be, but it's the first time where the output was actually there in terms of showing the attack of the Sea Dragons. It's a question now, can they reproduce it? It's no good just doing it once in a grand final. It's now doing it the second time around, or at least do it in the Swiss stage if they happen to face another top 4 competitor here or their major rival of the campaign here.
The major rival being, well, the team we just saw in front of us, Danny, and that's never going to change. And I do apologise for calling that out to be a sweep. I've gotten a bit ahead of myself, hasn't I? It was a game taken by the Buzzards there. And, of course, the 2-0 was a sensible look at what the Buzzards can do when they look their best, Danny. But nonetheless, still so much action to come. Of course, we've got the community qualifiers, or the group qualifiers as they've otherwise been known, coming at you live 7 p.m. tomorrow. That'll give teams an opportunity to qualify through to the Swiss stage yet again for what will be the final points gathering event of the online portion of this season, Danny. And I think we're going to have to leave it there for tonight. So thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in, to the co-streamers at SEA Dragons for following the action today as well. And we will see you tomorrow evening with the 4th and final online event of the BFBS Pro League. See you then.
Mate, you're lagging. What are you doing?
Good enough can cost you the game. So stop settling. Wifinity is built for real-life on base, so you can game without compromise. Posted somewhere new? Take your Wi-Fi with you, no hassle. Get fast, reliable Wi-Fi with Wifinity. Use code BFBS50 to get 50% off the first 3 months.